breaking news right now.
Okay, listen up. You've somehow stumbled upon the Motorcycle Radio Show, and you're listening to the Motorcycle Radio Podcast. It's absolutely brilliant. People from all over the world talking about their adventures on two wheels, or even three sometimes. So whatever you do, don't adjust your set. Sit down, relax, and listen to Motorcycle Radio. I'm your host,
Ian Richardson. Okay, welcome to the Motorcycle Radio Podcast. I'm your host, Ian Richardson, and you're listening to what is probably the best motorcycle podcast in the world. So, probably. So today I'm thrilled to introduce bike guy Dave, and Dave's joining us all the way from the UAE, the United Arab Emirates. So, hi Dave, how are you?
Hi Ian, thanks for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. So, what brings you to the United Arab Emirates on this wonderful Friday morning?
You know, I think about that often. So, where to start? I'm currently on a world tour. I'm trying to circumnavigate the whole globe on my motorbike.
Wow. And what motorbike are you circumnavigating the globe on?
I have a Yamaha Tenere World Raid, the 700. Highly modified. Obviously, it's not used for commuting or poodling around Wales in the summer. Yeah, it's a highly modified one.
That's interesting because my last guest was riding a similar bike, or a Yamaha Tenere, on his world trip from Brazil around the world. So, very, very popular bike for this sort of, this sort of a job. What made you think about that? Was it because you'd seen other people?
What's his name? The guy.
His name is Henry.
It's quite a small community, and we're all quite in touch with each other. There's about 10 people doing it currently that I know of. Really? We email each other quite a lot, especially if we've recently been through places, because the information's up to date then.
Yeah, great idea. Well, I know he's on the Horizons website as well.
I've definitely spoken to him then.
Yeah, lovely bloke. He's a primary school teacher.
Oh, I know him. Sorry, stop yourself. Yes, we're in contact.
Yes.
Yeah, lovely guy.
Yeah, brilliant. And rides a similar bike, so that's interesting.
Yes. It's quite. The thing is, it's light enough to get it out of problems, but big enough to carry it long distances. It's not like a GS, which is just a tank of a bike, which is a stunning bike, but really heavy. Yeah, and it's obviously not a DRZ 400, which is great for the lighter stuff. It's just kind of in the middle. Yeah,
and it's a similar thing to. Sorry to mention it again, but my BMW, which is the 700 GS, and I know
exactly the same.
Yeah,
exactly the same.
I love it. Yeah, that's right. I had the 1200 before. So heavy. I'm 6'2" and a big guy, but nevertheless, I still struggle to get my foot down if I was on an even ground or something. You try and put your foot in a pothole, which there's millions of in England now, you're off. But with this, I can flat foot it. I love it. So
do you know the potholes are not just England, my friend? They're all over the world. Trust me, they're all over this world.
Yeah.
I said, do you know what? Kuwait is probably one of the richest countries in the world, as we all know.
Yeah.
The roads are horrendous.
Really?
Yeah, I was just editing the video for Q8 yesterday, which comes out the week after Christmas Day, the weekend after Christmas Day, and it was the video on there is just horrendous roads in Q8. Yeah, the potholes are everywhere, all over the world.
They've obviously got different priorities, I guess.
Do you know the Q80s look at it? It's at least they can moan about something because they've got nothing else to moan about.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah. Well, what would we moan? We've got plenty to moan about. They could fix our potholes.
The Brits
still find something. Don't call us whining poms for nothing.
No.
So, tell us a bit about you and what brought you into bikes and what's your background?
Do you know, as a kid, I didn't. It was my brother, my younger brother. He got an RM125 pit bike, a scrambler.
Yeah.
And it was his thing. And you know, my uncle had a little trike, and we used to just take it over the pit. And I just sort of got riding because my younger brother was into it. The next Christmas, I asked my parents for an old pit bike, and they bought me an old Fizzy. Remember the Fizzies? FS1, whatever it was, ZE. FS1E. So no, my first ever bike that I owned was a Fizzy. My parents bought it me for Christmas, and it was great. If I'd known how much money it was worth now, I probably wouldn't have trashed it as much as I did then.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
No, I learned to ride that round the pit day after day, month after month, and loved it. Fell in love with motorbikes. Then never looked back.
That's it. Once you've done that, and you've just felt that freedom, that ability to go where you want, when you want. Oh, it's just. Especially living in a big town like London, getting anywhere is hard. And for 30 years when I was working, I used to commute on a bike, and it was just easy. I enjoyed it. It was like going to work. I used to enjoy the commute more than work, obviously, on my bikes. But it was just a fun way to get around and an easy way to get around in London. Yeah, and sorry.
I always felt, though, when I was a kid, on those motorbikes, there was always, I wanted the adventure as well. That's why I ended up here. Always wanted that adventure. Yeah,
it's interesting. I mean, my early adventures, I live in Yorkshire, and we used to go up to Scotch Corner, which is on the A1 going up towards Scotland, the north.
Yeah, motorbike cafe, yeah.
Yeah, and it was about 40 miles. So it's a good run on your AP50s and FS1Es and SS50s and stuff. And they'd always break down because 40 miles on one of them, that was like going around the world on a modern bike, for us.
Yeah, probably.
And it sounds crazy, but they were my first tastes of adventure. Doing that, jam sandwiches and a bottle of water, wrapped up in a, Hillard's carrier bag or Tesco carrier bag or something. And it just, that is just insane that when you're a young kid, the difference that it takes to feel that you're doing something crazy and adventurous. So that's I think a lot of us started in the same way. It's interesting what you said about your commute. I had a very stressful job, and I used to come home on my bike, and often, not to take away the famous television term, I used to go the long way round. And I really used to think, on the way home, sometimes your head was exploding. The things you'd seen, the things you'd done, it's like normal people just don't do these things. And then just to get on your bike and just let it all, that weight flow off your shoulders and gone, and then go for a bit of a ride. Certainly if you've been on nights as well. I was very lucky to get promoted a few times, but in the early days, being on nights, getting up in the morning, just breaking light and just getting out there. Amazing. Loved it. So I understand the commute bit, not just for its effectiveness, but for its freedom and its ability to clear your head a bit.
You say about the long way round. So I've met Charlie tons of times. Lovely guy. Obviously, I've never met you and superstars. The where they got the idea from the original long way round. Do you know who that was from? That was a guy called Ted. Oh God, do you know? I remember his name all the time. I met him last year. Ted Simon.
And Simon's got his book here. Yes,
I've read it 3-4 times in my life.
Yeah,
he was the original guy. So they got the long way round from Ted Simon. Now, when I decided to do this, I'd read that book 30 years ago, and it was always in the back of my mind that I want to have a go at that.
Yeah,
so that's kind of where it came from, reading the original Ted Simon's book.
Didn't he do that on a Triumph, an old
Yeah, he was if I remember correctly, he was a writer for the Times newspaper, and he basically wanted to go out and have the adventure and see what the world is like.
That's right.
Now, you say that, so this is a weird thing, and I'll probably come back to this again during this interview. So we're the first ever generation, you and I, to remember no internet. Yeah. I didn't get the internet till I was 28, 30. Now, we're the first generation to know without it and with it. We're the only generation to have that. Now, everything we can do these days, the life for the last 20 years has been recorded. what we have for breakfast, how we cook, how we enjoy ourselves, the real mundane crap.
Yeah.
If you look up there, there's probably a blog on coffee mugs.
Oh, I'm sure, yeah.
Anything. There's a blog on everything these days. Now, the record we have of Ted Simon doing it only 40, 50 years ago is a book. Yeah. We have a few pictures. We have no video. And that was a screenshot of the world at one time over 3-4 years.
Yeah.
The way I look at this is in 1,000 years' time. Now, sorry, just to go back a bit, if there was a video camera set up and they watched the pyramids being built 10 to 4,000 years ago, that video would be studied constantly by everybody, how it was built, life in those times. So we're the first ever generation to have to be able to record all the crap of our lives, the mundane stuff. So in 10,000 years' time, and it's here forever on the internet, in 10,000 years' time, they're going to be studying what we do.
Yeah.
And I figured doing what I'm doing is a snapshot of the whole world over a couple of year period that somebody in the future might find interesting. Now, we're not immortal, and other than having kids and our genes in our DNA, but I just thought that's a nice little way to give something back to life and give something back to the future.
It is.
Weird way of looking at it, I know, but...
No,
yeah.
it is, and I don't know if you've seen, occasionally I will, when people who are on, for example, Horizons Unlimited Facebook page, which is massive, lots of people who are on there appeared on this podcast. And so I usually send a link so people can see this as one of our members, because obviously I'm a member of that as well. And some people look at it. Some people then contact me and say, "Oh, I'd love to come on." What I like about this is that for me, it's just talking to someone like you, who I'm going to get along with because we've got similar interests. You're doing things that I'd love to do. And lots of people have got these massive adventures, and other people have got a simple, straightforward thing they want to talk about, and that's their adventure. It's wonderful. And I often say to people, imagine, I lost my dad 3 years ago, and when he died, I went through my computer and my phone looking for every video I could of him.
I know where you're going with it. Yes, good.
Yeah, just so I could have something I could see him, and I didn't have enough, and I wish I'd got loads. I've got one of him dancing a bit crazy in a Turkish restaurant with a belly dancer, and everyone's saying, "Sit down, Ron, sit down," and that was funny. And another one, we've got a house in Turkey, and we've had it for 20 years, and my mum and dad used to go in the spring and stay for the summer. And
nice.
I've got a few videos of them.
Whereabouts in Turkey?
It's in Kuşadası near Izmir.
I've been to Izmir, yeah. Nice.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And as I say, we've had it, 21 years this year. But yeah, some great videos of it.
Great, yeah. I never even thought that angle. I like that, yeah.
Yeah, and I thought, how amazing for your kids to be able to look at that and go, "Oh, look, that's my dad. That's nearly 50 years ago." When we're long time, let's be honest. And it works for me as well. I'd like to think that, like you said, none of us are here forever. Don't want to get mundane about it, but we're all most people I speak to are in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. We're all in that last bit. So how wonderful for them to be able to say, "Oh, look at my dad, look at my mum," and I think that's a great, and the same idea of what you're talking about, really, from the most incredible looking back at people doing a trip around the world like you and saying, "Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. Look what motorbikes looked like then. They had engines."
Yeah.
And fantastic.
Good effort. So Horizons Unlimited, what do you think? It's mixed views.
Yes, yeah.
I post on there quite a bit, obviously doing what I'm doing. It's sometimes... Yeah. I find there are a lot of armchair riders on there. I love Horizons Unlimited. You do get a lot of work, but people get upset, I found, when you don't take their opinion. Especially when I was planning for this ride, everybody wanted to tell me what to take. And I just thought, surely it should be what I need to take and what I want to take to do my trip. But they go, "No, you won't need that. Definitely don't take that. But definitely take this." And I'll be like, "Oh, yeah, Horizons Unlimited can be... It's a double-edged sword."
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I don't want to turn into my show, but what I do, and I was just literally did it last night. I recognise that the internet can be a force of very, very good, useful information and evil, poor, terrible information. And it can be really fantastic or very bad for your mental health, depending on how you interact with it. So
control all the time.
Yeah. So my son, who's my middle son, is 30. He's 31. Actually, he said to me, I asked him to do something on Facebook for me, and he said, "Dad, you've got 3,200 blocked people." Blocked people. I said, "Yeah." He says, "Why?" I said, "Well, for the good of my mental health, when I post something, and it's my opinion, and I always say, this is just my opinion, I'm not forcing it on anyone. I think blah, blah. And I try not to be too political, and I try not to be too controversial. But you get this horrific diatribe of lunatics, in my opinion, who put some ridiculous stuff on there, some nasty stuff, some violent threats. And if you don't believe or think what they think, then they get upset or angry. Now,
Quite like the educated trolls, because it's good fun to have a bit of banter with them.
Of course.
But when it's nasty, delete.
Yeah.
So stop straight away, delete.
I simply delete, block, and delete. And if it's something nasty, report and block and delete. Mm-hmm. And it makes social media for me a much nicer place. So TikTok, love TikTok, but at one point I had to come off it because it was affecting my mental health. There was so much madness on there, and I guess the algorithms, I must have looked at one and thought, well, what on earth, or commented, and of course then you get them all, so it's my fault. But I thought I can't cope with it, so I took it off my phone. And then I realized, well, because they're all based on algorithms, don't comment, don't look at it, and look at the stuff you want to look at, and so I do that now. I use the algorithms to my benefit, and I block and delete people that are negative. And so all of a sudden what I find is that my social media journey is so much nicer now because it's a positive one. I'm a very positive person, and I like to give off positivity as well as receive it. And so anything negative, block, gone, and all of a sudden they've gone. And so when people go, "Oh, I don't do this because of so-and-so," I'm like, "Oh, I don't have that problem," because they're all blocked. And I only get the nice people. It's a bit like picking and choosing, and you've got the choice, haven't you? Why wouldn't you? But you're right, it's everywhere. And you're right about packing your own stuff. People think, well, it was good for me, and so it must be good for you. Not always the case, obviously. So
have you done any long trips, Ian?
Well, I've done lots of trips, but I think for me, and I was just saying this to Henry last week, for me, having been working until 5 years ago, full time, and still working, I do some consultation work on the field I used to be in. I've not had that, the advice I give other people, make the time, don't keep putting it off, do it. I've not done that. And so what I've done is journeys when I've gone on holiday to go on a journey. So I've ridden across the States. I've ridden I had a fantastic trip over 6 weeks from Quebec City down to Florida, which was right down the East Coast, which was fantastic, on a hired bike. Got the bike nicked twice. 2 bikes nicked. 1 bike nicked outside of McDonald's in New Jersey. And thank God I'd got into the habit, after going through some dodgy places in New York State, I'd got into the habit of hooking off. Because it was a rental, I didn't have it all. I couldn't pack it like it was my own bike. So I had it all in like a Bergen on my back, hooked into the back of it. And I used to take it off and take it in when I went anywhere more than a minute or two. And the bike went missing. I had to ring the rental company. And they brought me another bike because they knew the position I was in, and it went through. And then in North Carolina, a week or more later, because it weren't just a journey, I was liking to see the things I wanted to see. got nicked again.
Yeah.
The new bike got nicked. And so that was exciting, that journey, for lots of different reasons.
Why did you choose the East Coast and not Route 66?
I've done Route 66 as well. Yeah. But that was just very carefully trying to choose the weather and the time off I could get. So it was about, I was still working. So I had a set of nights, which I gave to someone. So they did my nights. And then you get a week off after. We used to do 7 on, 7 off. So I got a week off after that. And then a fortnight's leave. And then some time in lieu that I'd got, which I'd built up when I got promoted, and I built up a load of time. And they were like, you need to get rid of it because you're not going to be able to get rid of it now. And so I managed just to time it at the right time to do that journey. And it was at this time of year. Luckily, springtime. So it weren't too cold up north and it weren't too hot down south. But yeah, I've done a few.
Pacific Coast Highway, did you do that?
No, I haven't. No, I know lots of people that have, and it's definitely, yeah. Oh, have you really? That's definitely on my list of things to do. So what did you do from and where on there?
I did everything, the whole states.
Wow.
Yeah, I did it over 3 months. Pacific Coast Highway, north and south, Route 66, and then back round, and then up that journey you've just done. Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
That was a long old journey. So have you ever done any other long journeys?
I've ridden in Europe. I've driven through Europe. I've driven in Turkey quite a lot, and having a house in Turkey has been very, very beneficial.
Have you got a bike there?
I had a bike there. I haven't anymore. So
yeah, that'd be cool.
What happened in Turkey? I mean, it's not just Turkey, but lots of places. Bike and car prices are astronomical to buy there because of taxation on new vehicles. Means, I don't know, a 34-year-old Renault 9 will still be like 9 grand, 10 grand. And it might have been, here it'd be 250 quid. And, it's horrific. And bikes are the same. And because of that reason, unless you've got, and this is not a technically correct answer, but the way I understand it, unless you've got residency, you can't import a bike for longer without paying the tax on it.
3 months.
Yeah.
It basically goes on your visa. Unless you've got a company.
Yeah. So buying one there, astronomical. Keeping one there long term is not really viable because you may as well buy one because the tax is going to be equal to that. But I have had a bike there that I've had to sell. And just the weather is brilliant. I mean, being on that west coast facing Greece, the Greek islands, of course, where we are in Izmir, it's sea level, so you don't get the snow. I think they had a sprinkle of snow one January, about a millimetre last, and they were all taking pictures on Instagram and stuff, and it were gone by the time the picture had, got online. But normally, weather in winter is between, I'd say, 12 and 16, and in summer, obviously, can be as high as 50. So it's a very long riding season. You're able to ride all year round, really, on that west coast, northwest.
Have you got any other long trips planned, though?
Yeah, so not planned as in I'm literally planning it, but mentally planning. Yeah, in my head. I want to do the west coast of the States again. We've got my wife and son have just come back from San Diego and Las Vegas. They did a road trip to Las Vegas from San Diego because my wife's got lots of friends and family in the States. They went to her medical school reunion, and I've been quite a few times with them, and I love that part of the world. I mean, from a riding perspective, obviously, once you get off those highways, it's just so. I mean, in the southern California, sort of going inland from San Diego is like another world. It's absolutely beautiful there. And I'd love to I've got lots of driving there. I'd like to do some riding there. I'd like to sort of take a couple of months off and just ride, you know. That's what I'd love to do. The nearest I've done to doing that really in the past is where's the famous race course in the States? I can't think. It's
Indy 500.
Horse racing.
Kentucky.
Kentucky. Yeah. So I've got a friend in Kentucky who I was going to ride with him and rent a bike, and the cost of renting it recently. Wow. Just I'm very, very blessed to have got to share your gold-plated government pension, because I was very lucky, one of the last of us, I think, to benefit from a final salary pension.
I think I was pretty much so nobody in the job I did, it's all over the internet. I was a firefighter for 30 years. Yeah. Nobody, I think, after me got my pension. So it stopped 2 years, and I retired 3 months after it stopped. And I think I was the last.
Yeah.
My job.
And I retired in 2018, full-time operational, and I got that. So I'm very blessed, and thank God for that. And I've got a bit of a pension from my job before that. So, I'm very lucky in that respect.
More money for more motorbikes.
Yeah, exactly.
Tell me what bikes you got now, Ian. What bikes do you have?
So I've got, I'm sorry about this, but the F700 GS BMW, which I won.
We'll come back to that story. Oh, go on then, tell us now.
Yeah. I mean, some people will know because I've mentioned it on different podcasts and on the internet, but I've got to give a shout out, I guess, to the giveaway guys. I saw that.
Just to jump in here, guys.
Yeah.
So when Ian and I were chatting yesterday, I actually now know 3 people that have won from the giveaway guys. Ian and I are not affiliated with those guys, but my brother's friend won a Porsche. I know a guy who won a motorbike, and now I know Ian. Just to jump in there. Yeah. When I get back to the UK, I will be buying a few tickets. Sorry, Ian, carry on.
No, it's great. I mean, I used to see their adverts on Facebook and stuff all the time and just swipe left, get rid of it, because I just assumed that, because there's quite a few now, I think, not, copying them, who... you're never going to win that. It's like everything else. You're not going to win anything. And I in a bad moment when I felt a bit low, times were tough, I bought a ticket, and because I'm from Yorkshire, it defaulted to 3, and I took 2 out of the basket and just left 1, and I won, and I couldn't believe it. He rang me, and during the live unveil, they use, I believe, Google random number generator to get the number that you buy, and my number came out, and I weren't even watching, and there's thousands of people watching hoping they'd won. I was asleep on the settee. But I won that bike, so that's great. And it was the bike or cash. I didn't tell my wife until after I'd said I'm having the bike, despite at that time having 3 bikes already, that it could have been cash. And it wasn't until in a fit of excitement, they sent me the recording of me winning it as a file. So I sent it to all my family, and my wife then watched the video, including the bit where it said, £10,500 cash. And I was like, no. And she said, you never said you could have had the cash. I said, I don't even remember him saying that.
Does your wife ride?
She did as a kid. So she did as a young person. She doesn't now, but she does ride on the back. She's quite happy to be a pillion. Yeah, definitely. And she does occasionally say to me, sorry.
You can't talk her into riding the...
No, that's it. She does occasionally say to me, I wonder if I could just buy a small bike. And I'm like, she could. Why not? Because that's what boys do. My boys ride. So yeah, it'd be great if she did.
What other bikes do you have now?
I've got a Triumph Thunderbird 900, which is a 2001. So it's 23 years old, coming up for 24 years old. And that is my pride and joy. So I don't ride that in mud or rain. It's got 5,200 miles on it. And I bought it off a guy who So a bit of a pass. I've had two before. Each time I buy one, I fall in love with it and never going to sell it. And then something happens, usually the fact that the garage gets full and I never ride it. And I come to my senses and think it's stupid just keeping money in there for nothing. And I get rid of it. My bike's never cost me anything. I just want to say that. Because I say to my wife, you usually, with a bike, if you look after it, you get pretty much what you paid for it. Especially with older bikes.
Yeah, you know? Definitely, yeah.
And so I, again, being a Yorkshireman, try not to sell anything for less than I bought it for. Unless it's my fault, you know, I've wrecked it, I fell off it and, you know, whatever. So when my wife does occasionally raise concerns about how much money is stuck in the garage, and I'll say, but it's just like it's being in the bank, really, and you don't get a lot of interest. So when I sell it, that'll just buy another one or whatever. I'm not buying, I think I once worked out I'd got something like, I don't know, 80 odd grand's worth of bikes.
What other bikes you got then?
Well, I haven't now, but I had at that point. I'd got the 1200 GS. That were quite expensive.
Yeah, the new one's 25 grand.
I know. It's insane, isn't it? And you can. I know somebody who's paid 32 grand for theirs.
To inspect.
Because yeah,
it's mad.
Yeah. Got the adventure with the spoked wheels and all the electronic gubbins, and I said, you know what I hate about that, and I'm not criticizing them because they're amazing bikes, but from my perspective, again, my opinion, if I dropped that bike, I would be horrified. You know, one drop could knock 3-4 grand off it, and I'd rather have a 3 or 4 grand bike that one drop takes 30 quid off it, you know, the way I ride. So at the moment, I've got the 900 GS, Honda Varadero, the BMW, which you know is a freebie, and I've also got in the garage at the moment my son's Honda XL125, which
like
great bike, just for So he's 18. So I'm just doing that up for him. So I've just stripped it all down. And I'm not, an expert, but I can do the basics. So I've stripped it down, making sure it's mechanically okay. I've stripped all the plastics and the tank, and I've resprayed it. And it's looking quite good, actually. So yeah, that and cars. I like cars, but I've not got many. I've just got my trusty Volkswagen Tiguan.
So when you're going out the weekend, which one do you pick?
Well, it depends on the weather. If it's nice weather, I'll take the Triumph. If I'm going where I think people are going who like to stop and talk to you about bikes, I'll take the Triumph.
Yeah, fair play.
I found that when I go out on the BMW, it'll be the same as it is when you go out in a BMW car. No one talks to everyone else. Yeah, and even the people that nod. You know what I used to hate on my BMW GS 1200? I wouldn't say I got into the lifestyle of all the beige stuff and, everything.
They do look clones.
Yeah.
Great bike.
It is amazing bike, but it's just... that lifestyle is the similar one to predominantly in the US, bikers with your chaps on and your... and you get into it's like almost like a movie script being on your Harley with the big beard and, it's just, a German helmet. I never got into that lifestyle, but I did recognize that when I was riding, because I'm a very outgoing, gregarious, friendly person, I still wave at everyone. I'm still nod at everybody. But when I was on the BMW, just completely blanked me. They were like, and I thought, ooh. And it hurt. Someone like me, that hurts you. Because it's like, wow. And then I noticed.
Sorry, so why didn't you take the £10,000?
Well.
I'm with your wife on this one.
I have learned to edit a little bit, so that won't be it.
Listen, if you take it out, I'm going to keep mentioning it, so you've got to work. Cool.
So what about you? I mean, you've got this Yamaha now, but I guess that's not the only bike you've ever had.
God, I've had hundreds. Started off, as I say, on the Fizzy and the RM125. My first road legal was a Suzuki DRZ 400 wheelie machine. That got nicked. After that, I went to a Suzuki Bandit. I only recently sold that, actually, which was really cool. Over the years,
6 or the 1200, 600 or 1200
the 600S,
Oh yeah,
600
the bearings.
WRF 450 and a 250 at various times, dirt bike riding. Yamahas, lots of Yamahas. A XT 660, which is, I loved that bike, which I never sold it. And then, yeah, ended up with the tenner at the World Raid now. Lots of Yamahas, lots and lots of Yamahas.
Yeah. So the World Raid, is it called?
Yeah.
What makes that different to the normal Yamaha tenner?
The reason why I bought it, the tank. It's got twin tanks. It carries 26 litres of fuel. And I've needed it twice on my journey so far around the world.
Wow.
That and the suspension, not that you notice it, it's an inch bigger apparently, but yeah.
Notice
the
it
big
with me on.
tank.
That's good.
Yeah, but the petrol tank is the main thing. Definitely. There's three versions of it. You've got the Tenere, you've got the World Raid, and then you've got the Rally Raid, which has got an upgraded suspension and a different seat.
Right. And is that fuel injection, I guess?
EFI, yes, which is again so needed when you get out into the real world. Most of the guys that drive around Europe for their summer trips and stuff, you get RON 95 everywhere. But yeah, if you go, once you literally get out into Africa and stuff and into the Middle East, you can't guarantee it. Some of the rich countries don't have petrol stations like we would think.
Yeah.
Iraq, for instance, they only have RON 88, and you've got to filter it through a muslin because you can see the crap going in your tank. And you're not allowed to fill up in the petrol stations. You have to decant it out of canisters outside the forecourt.
Is that because they're crazy fire risk things for bikes?
Exactly that. So their government have said that you're not allowed to fill up motorbikes on their forecourts of their stations.
Right.
It's a right old pain in the bum. But
yeah.
And there's literally barely any petrol stations in Iraq. If you miss one, you're scuppered. Yeah, you are at the end of your tank, which is the first time I used the 26 litres. You're asking everybody you see, where is it? How far? Oh, it's 50 kilometres that way, 50 kilometres, 40. You're like that. You're on empty. Minus, I think the worst I got up to was minus 97 kilometres on reserve.
Oh,
and I was, yeah. And the worst thing was, 2 days before, I always carry an extra litre in a bottle attached to the front, and the 2 days before there was a load of kids that had broken down on their rickshaw, and they were just trying to stop people waving a fuel can, and I thought, oh, I'll give them my extra litre. Literally 2 days before, I was like
yeah, that's it. Yeah, I have bought fuel in like Coke bottles before and filtered it in the Philippines,
in Africa.
Yeah, where it's in the provincial parts of the Philippines and Far East, you're not going to get very many petrol stations.
No.
They sell it in little sari stores.
When did you ride the Far East then? What bike did you ride that on?
I rented a Tenere, funnily enough, in the Philippines. People. I loved riding there, and one of the things that I think it suffers from is being an island, or 7,000 islands, but being an island chain. So I hear so many people, and I always recommend them, please go to the Philippines, because people will often, they'll show me their maps and they'll put their links to their maps, and or they'll tell me about it afterwards. Unfortunately, it's too late then. And because it's offset, you're going to go up through, possibly people would go to Australia and then hop across on a ferry to Papua New Guinea, and then they'll go up through Indonesia, Malaysia, and then Thailand, and then come back round. But they miss those islands. I understand why, but the fact is, it's this may or may not be interesting to some people, but it's English speaking, so almost everybody will speak English. Bit like in Malaysia, I guess, because there's so many different languages and cultures people mix. Can't have one. But all the press, all the newspapers and the TV is in English. The road signs are in English. It's the friendliest country I've ever could possibly imagine. Everybody will do anything for you, despite having nothing. And I know that's the case in many places when you get off the beaten track. And, I often say to people, the only way to accurately deal with people's isms is to travel. It's no good thinking that you know how people are based on what they're like when they come to your country. You've got to travel and you've got to see real people who just want to feed the family, have a laugh, be healthy, be happy, and go to work and come back and live their lives. That's what all the world wants to do, really, everywhere you are, within reason.
Did you fly out there and ride the bike, or?
Yes, yeah, flew out there. Amazing. I mean, different provinces have very different geography. So in the north, I mean, you're only 65 miles south of Taiwan, that first island.
Yeah.
Luzon, northern Luzon, very green, very mountainous, amazing. And then coming down through Luzon, obviously to Manila, one of the largest metropolises in the world. I mean, just astronomically large. And I've been several times, and each time I go, it changes as if you've never been before. It changes that fast. It's like being in the most modern city in the world, unless you look behind and then you see, the unofficial housing and slums and the poverty. And I guess that's one thing to get used to, that you will have seen as you go around the world. In the Western, not just the West, it could be Japan, but developed countries, you're not used to seeing the differential between the haves and the have-nots, because even in the UK, the have-nots have a 56-inch flat screen TV and central heating and warm and dry and food and money and possibly even a foreign holiday, and they've never worked in their life. And that's not the case if you go anywhere else. And that's the first time I think I saw that, to the extent where it was literally heartbreaking. How can you have this Bentley Continental with a driver and this 12-bedroomed house with an infinity pool and 15 acres of land and be surrounded by these kids who are dying of malnutrition? It hurts. For my Western sentiments, that it takes some getting used to. But that is the extremes of big cities. When you come out, it's just incredible. People go through Mindanao into the Visayas, which is the Middle Islands, like Leyte and Pleat Papal. There's a famous Battle of Leyte Gulf, the largest naval battle in the world the history's ever seen. As an ex-Navy man, you'll probably know about that. Massive. I mean, memorials and wrecks there. It's just astonishing. And then coming down into Mindanao, which people, oh my God, don't go there because it's Muslims. Well, so it's Muslims where you are as well, and it's Muslims in a third of the world. But I think people often villainize people. It's like, you can't go there, it's scary. Well, people in Mindanao just as beautiful as they are everywhere else. 95% of them, and that place is beautiful as well. So I'd always recommend, if people can make the effort to get a ferry, usually across from Indonesia, which is the nearest country to it, into the Philippines, and just do some riding, it will be probably one of the most memorable parts of any trip, I'd say. Just my opinion.
Find a lot of people, as you just said, they like to put their fears onto you. Literally, whatever you're doing, you can't do that. Why? Oh, because this will happen to you. No, it won't. You can't go into Iraq. Why? Oh, because you're definitely going to get shot and kidnapped. All right. Yeah, a lot of people do that to me. Strangers.
Really?
It's unlimited. Strangers, my family, my friends. Yeah, I always feel that people, when they say it, if they put their fears onto you, they're like, oh, okay, I've said it now. And if it happens to him, I'm all right.
I tried to tell him.
But yeah, he didn't listen. Because they told me, and now I just, okay.
Yeah. I think sometimes people don't, well, because they're doing it out of genuine concern or just sometimes scare tactics that, there's the different tactics they come to you with. They probably don't understand that where there's higher risk, there is higher risk being addressed. So, usually if you go to somewhere like Iraq, there might be more risk than there would be in Watford. No. Oh, there you go.
Absolutely not.
That's
I've ridden through Iraq 2 months ago. I would happily take my children there. Yeah, it's exceptionally safe. Yeah, there is nothing. You trust me, you got more chance of getting stabbed in Watford.
Oh yeah, I'd love to Watford. Yeah.
I'm not anybody from Watford watching this. We're not against Watford. We'll save a UK. Let's edit the Watford piece out, Ian. So, what trips have you got coming up, my friend? What trips have you got soon?
Soon, it's going to be in the spring. I'm going to go camping in France.
Okay, whereabouts?
I'm going to try and not circumnavigate, because there's certain places I don't want to go, but I'd like to go north to south and then across to the Atlantic coast, and then come back up, ending
around
up
through Brest and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. So really looking forward to doing that. I'd like to do that.
Get to see the World War II stuff, the beaches and stuff as well coming back round. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. I guess that is. I've never been and done that. I've seen them gone past them. I've never made an effort to go and do it. Certainly not on an organised thing, but worked with lots of veterans, obviously. And my son's just about to join the army, so it renewed an interest, I think.
Don't do it.
Yeah, I know. Renewed an interest in that. I'd like to go and do that. I watch it like everybody else, I guess. I'm a bit of a history buff, and we
done Yeeps with all the First World War and stuff like that.
Oh no, I haven't.
That's really cool. If you go back to my earlier videos, you can see that.
But you know what? I will do that, because I have got a picture here, incredibly. So this picture, not focused very well, but
it's not focused, but it's two soldiers.
Yeah. So, the young kid is my granddad.
One soldier and a young kid. Yes,
that's right. This kid here is my granddad.
Yeah.
And that's his older brother.
Oh, okay. Wow. And from the First World War?
Yeah. So he went away at 17. And the next thing they got back was his Bible out of his pocket with a bullet hole through it. And he was 5 last time he saw his brother. So 5 and 17. And of course, hundreds of thousands of British and Allied troops died in the First World War. So many that even in one day, one battle, there were more that died than in a year in the Second World War. It's just incredible. I mean, it's just incredible.
Yeah, go Yeeps.
Yeah, and I think I did. I have the right to go and see, having family, and also, sorry, go on.
That's all right. Go on.
Well, no, I was thinking about you and actually, and the Navy. I'll try and put a link on on this actually, or certainly do a video of it. My uncle in the Second World War was in the Navy, and his ship was sunk off Norway, and he was rescued, and he was rescued. It was taken as a body on board the rescue ship. They thought he were dead. And he wasn't. He was comatose and terrible injuries. And he was brought home to Yorkshire to recover and get over his injuries. And he went to a armed forces, an army convalescent hospital. And during the time he was here, he got married to his, girlfriend who he'd left when he joined the Navy. And it was like, well, I've survived, so this is a great opportunity for us to get married. But he convalesced so well that they took him back in the Navy. And he was then sunk again in the English Channel.
Yeah.
And he was rescued by a submarine crew.
Oh, wow.
And then the submarine was depth charged and they died.
Jesus.
What a story. And I've got a newspaper article. And I knew this story, through family talking, you get Uncle Jonas, this, and you think, oh. And then somebody who I didn't know, I think I must have mentioned it on Facebook, said, you might be interested in this. And he sent me a newspaper cutting of it happening and saying how he'd been rescued twice. And I thought, wow, God bless him. What a tragedy, but these stories. So there's a lot, like every family, and I've mentioned this again on a few radio podcasts, almost all of us of our age will know some uncle, some grandfather, great-grandfather, great-uncle that we lost during those two wars and subsequent, engagements. So,
sorry.
Yeah, go on.
No, you carry on.
I'm just saying, so it's important to all of us, isn't it? It's personal to all of us. Yeah.
My granddad was shot in the bum.
Really?
Yeah, in the Second World War, and he came home and recovered, but he didn't get sent back, thankfully. And but he got shot in the bum. Bless him.
Yeah.
So been travelling now 7 months, about 7 months. Set off from London. I rushed it, to be honest. I found. Go back a bit. I found the setup of the bike great fun. Loved doing it. It took me a year and a half from the basics of like map reading, planning routes and stuff like that, down to figuring out what kit I wanted to take, camping, the bike, building the bike. I started with the basic Tenere, and I then just basically spent half again kitting it out how I wanted to build the bike. I loved the planning stage, loved it. I found it really enjoyable, especially in your own time. It gave my brain so much to think about all the time. Departure day, Sky News helicopter hovering overhead, off I went. And it flashed by. That was, I can't barely remember it. A day I thought of for literally a year and a half, and I can barely remember the day itself.
Wow.
After about 2 days, as I said, we went to Yeeps, and I was with somebody else at the start as well. So I planned this. We only lasted a week. After Yeeps, I then just sort of head east, down through Germany, Poland, and then started heading south, down to Turkey. Probably took me 2-3 months to get through Europe. I rushed it. I always felt, and I don't know why, I was in a race with myself. Right. And I shouldn't have done it so quick, but I did it. I hit all the highlights, but I shouldn't have done it so quick. Got to Turkey. I always planned to go from Cyprus on a plane from Cyprus to Jordan to miss out Iraq, those long treacherous bits through Kurdistan, and I just thought, well, easier just jump on a plane to Jordan, but plan A, B, and C and D, it didn't work at all. And in the end, the only way I could get around it was go through Iraq. But to be honest, I loved it. It's an amazing place down through Iraq. Get escorted by the army for 3 days. Yeah, really? Gave me guns. Yeah, I had a Kalashnikov, and
I saw the picture actually. I saw you holding one.
They were literally just amazing. The Iraqis are just beautiful people. I know the government website says don't go there, but I tell you what, within the next 50 years, probably not in our lifetime, Ian, it will be a place that booms. It's just on the edge of it. You can feel it all around you. The people, they have no stomach for war. They have no stomach for hostility. The army, the police, the people, every single person, the government, they don't want that anymore. They're done with it. They just want to move on with their lives. Yeah, a great place. From there through Jordan, I think I said about it, I had a moment that literally has changed my whole trip. I think I told you about this, didn't I? So I was going through the desert, and so that's one thing I absolutely detest now. Yeah. Desert ride is just, we can all ride motorbikes. We can all get on a motorbike and ride for 6 hours. But imagine getting on a motorbike, riding for 6 hours to look at nothing. Yeah. Just sand, lorries and tarmac. It is just horrible desert riding. And they're big. Saudi Arabia is like 5 times the size of Britain. Imagine driving to Scotland and back 4 times. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, so really.
I was in Jordan, and I'd crossed the desert. It took me 2 days to get out of the Jordan desert, and I was exhausted. I thought, nice hotel, good hotel with a good shower. I just want to do nothing for a couple of days. Parked up, had a shower, came downstairs, went for a burger opposite the hotel. As I was walking back, there was about 10 guys hanging around my bike. I was like, just don't need that. New country, first time I was in Oman. And I walked up and said, "You all right, lads, it's my bike." Turns out they were part of the Jordan Riders team, and they were there for their annual ride out with 300 of them. So I got invited to join them.
Amazing.
And to be honest, there was everybody there from the Middle East, Kuwaiti riders who have now become great friends, Omani riders. So, and then basically they invited me to each of their countries to do their ride outs with them.
Oh, wow.
So I've been in the Middle East, going from country to country doing their ride outs. They're just amazing. But basically, imagine somebody said, "I've never been to Yorkshire." Mm-hmm. So if I come to Yorkshire, I'd say, "Ian, could you take me around Yorkshire?"
Yeah.
You know all the roads.
Yeah.
Same as, and it's basically saying, "I've never been to Kuwait." Right, follow me. And then you just get taken in Oman, 2 days in the mountains, 3 miles up, and it's just riding through wadis. So the guys from the UAE, where I am now, I can see the text as we've been sitting here. Their ride starts on Saturday. So I'm going with them to Camp Bedouin style in the desert for 3 days, all from that one tiny moment of life.
Amazing.
Where I walked out to get a burger and they were all standing around my bike. From that one moment, that was 4 months ago. And in the Middle East, I have wanted for nothing. They've been, we're talking free servicing from Yamaha because they will go there. The tyres, free fitting, it's cheap, got it discounted, basically cost price. 2 new tyres, new chains and sprockets for the bike ready for Pakistan, India, Bangladesh and the Himalayas. And whenever I'm with them, I don't pay for anything. The food is amazing. They're just amazing. The friendliness of those 10 guys I met from that one moment in my life has made my journey so far. It's been really, really, the Middle East it's massive, but it's been amazing.
And you've just basically verbalized what I was saying earlier about travel being the thing to open your eyes to people, how wonderful people are all over the world.
But the country I haven't mentioned is probably, sorry, I'm in Dubai. I'm looking out the window. There's 2 parachutists coming. I want to turn the camera around, literally.
Yeah, go on, you can. Of course you can.
Out the window, there is literally, see, look, 3 parachutes now coming down over the top of the bloody man.
Wow.
Dubai's a bit of a nuts place. So, yeah, the country I haven't spoken about is Egypt.
Right.
So not many, very, very few adventure riders go for the simple fact it costs. It's a lot of money to get in, a lot of money to get out. All in all, it cost me over £1,000 to get in and out, and I stayed there for 5 weeks. Yeah, it's exceptionally bureaucratic. Is that the word?
Bureaucratic. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir. But I'm not kidding you. It's probably my best country so far. I loved it. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. It's life. There's no pretense there. I drove all the way down the Nile from Cairo to Aswan and then back up the other side. Wow. Police escorts, sometimes you're always avoiding police escorts. But yeah, the people are genuinely lovely. It's real life. It's not like London. It's not like Dubai and New York, Las Vegas. It's just real life. It's really, really cool to experience. Yeah, I loved Egypt massively. I actually didn't want to leave in the end.
No, I can imagine. And,
Big for us.
yeah, I think for me, when you're just talking about it, clearly very passionate about it, you've enjoyed it, it's like changed your life.
Loved it. Yeah. I figured when I started this, right, so I can ride a motorbike. I've been doing it for 40 years. You can, and most people who are watching this blog will have. We can all ride a motorbike. You can get on it, and you can ride to Scotland from London. There's no big hardship in that. It's not the actual riding of the bike, the kit setup, what bike you've got, how much money you've got. It's this.
Yeah, absolutely.
What goes on in here? That I found is the hardest thing to deal with, and you leave a life behind, and an exceptionally comfortable life in London, nice family and tons of friends. Some the friends can be a bit of a pain; they can muck with this as well. But you end up fighting with yourself a lot, and I've had to really teach myself to stop that fighting with my own brain. And the way I did it was, when you go to places out of the mainstream world, you get your freedom taken away from you a lot for hours at a time.
Yeah.
I was crossing from Kurdistan to federal Iraq, and I didn't even realise I was at the border. There's loads of checkpoints. There's always checkpoints everywhere out of the Western world. And I parked my bike up. The guy said that they do this, they tap their arm. That means they want their papers. So I gave him my passports, and literally it was gone, and I lost it. And usually I just sort of sit there, change the batteries in my GoPros or something. But these two guys with AKs literally came strapped across their chest, came across and said, follow. Okay. I then got locked in this room with this guy for about an hour. I don't speak Arabic. I can speak a very, very shway Arabic, to just very small amount of Arabic. And this guy just sat there staring at me. Every now and then he'd look at his phone and then stare back up, and he'd flick through his part from my passport. That fart, you probably don't, but that really quick flick they do for the passport, God knows what you're going to be looking at. My passport's got hundreds of stamps in it now, and I every time they look at it, I think, well, I study mine just to have a look at it. How the hell are you looking at it that quick?
Yeah, when they flick with one hand.
Yeah, and I think, well, anyway, so they do that, and then he'd look at his phone again, and then he'd stare at me, and I'm in full bike gear, and it's the middle of the summer. I'm in a locked cabin, sitting on this chair that can't move. It's the desk that's bolted to this metal floor, and I'm thinking, how the fuck did I get here? What am I doing, you dickhead? Anyway, it turns out after about an hour of me sweating, I took my helmet off, obviously, put it by my side. After about an hour of me sweating, somebody came in that spoke English, and it turns out they just didn't know what to do with me. And the guy was texting his mates.
I'm trying to find out what to do.
This guy, and I was sitting there shitting myself, and they literally, he was sitting there texting, got this British guy, he's got no stamp, he's got a visa for Kurdistan, what do I do? And then staring at me. And I'm like, I'm going to get raped or shot. But in the end, he literally, this guy, he looked at me and went, welcome to Iraq. And I was like, goodbye.
Yeah, there we are now.
I came out of that, going back to what I said, I came out of that and I literally felt a lot. I was not in control at all. Now, through my job, I ended up being a boss firefighter. So I was pretty much always in control of whatever I've done in life. And losing that control, it was actually, I found it all right. And as the weeks went on, sometimes they'd turn around and go, no, you can't go anymore. We're not going. I said, okay, figure out a problem. I found myself, right, I sat underneath this road bridge. It was an army checkpoint, literally a tank and ex-army yourself, tanks and guns everywhere. I sat down. I had an egg, boiled egg, because I found they're a really cool source of protein to carry around with me. I cracked the egg and I peeled an orange and I sat there and I fell asleep for 20 minutes. I didn't know where my passport was. And in the end, this soldier came over with some water and he went, oh, the general says we're going to now escort you for the next 400 miles. I was like, okay.
Wow.
Where's my passport? He went, it's in the first tank. Let's go. I was like, okay. You just literally, you have your freedom taken away.
Yeah.
But it's I kind of don't mind it. I've never had it before, that freedom taken away. And you had checkpoints. Checkpoints are the same. Borders Borders generally in the Middle East are electronic and they're a bit quicker, but Africa and Iraq and Jordan, going between the two, I live there. Do you want another funny story? I love this one. So I'm going in between the Iraq-Jordan border. Now, I don't know if you know, it is literally 400 kilometres from anywhere. So 800 kilometres in a straight road. There's nothing. Right. Zero. One of those petrol station times. So you have to have a big fuel tank or carry fuel. I made it to the checkpoint. It was 7 o'clock at night, and the army passed me over to the border control. And, I'm sitting there thanking them. They all want selfies and add me at social media.
Yeah.
And basically, I got partway through leaving Iraq. You always have to pay $30 or something. I don't know if it's bribes, but anyway, I got part of the way through. There was no food there, so the guards took me into their shack, gave me some dinner. I hadn't eaten in like a day. Not that my fat body's going to worry too much about that, and I said to him, "Where am I going to sleep?" And he just sort of pointed. I said, "Oh, can I put my tent up here?" And he was like, "Oh, no, not here. This is the border. You've got to go in there." I was like, "Okay." Excuse me. So puts me bed up, and there's wild dogs, literally packs of wild dogs everywhere in the middle of the desert. You can hear the hyenas screaming in the background. I'm thinking, this ain't going to go well. Anyway, 20 minutes later, the bed sort of trying to get phone signal, no phone signal. The bed, somebody kicks the bed. I looks up, and it's the local imam, the religious guy, and he spoke a bit of English.
Yeah.
And he said, "Where you sleep?" I went, "Just here, it's fine." He said, "Oh, come with me." And he let me sleep in the mosque.
Wow.
He put me in his mosque. Him and his family slept in his little house. And so there I am. So I'm fast asleep in this mosque. I think, I can't get any safer than this.
Yeah.
Fast asleep. I've got my blow up bed. I've got my sleeping bag out. Tuck my bike jacket up as a pillow. I'm fast asleep. Anyway, lights are out. 1, 2 in the morning. Bang! Door flies open. I sleep fully clothed for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
I springs out of bed, and I'm not a fighter, but I'm going to defend myself.
I'll give it a go if I'm going to get killed.
Give it a go if I have to. And this guy, he's massive. He's 6'5", gun strapped across his chest, pistol on his hip, and he's barking fast Arabic at me, and he's loud, and and I'm like, whoa, shway Arabic, little Arabic, little Arabic. No. And, trying to spout out the Arabic words I do know.
Yeah.
And then literally from behind him, this little head popped out like this. "Hello, can I translate? I speak English." I was like, "Yes, fucking please."
Yes, please.
It turns out the guy behind him was being deported from Jordan back to Iraq, and the big guy was just asking me in that aggressive Arabic way, "Is it okay if he shares your bed?" And I was like, "Mate, you fucking too right, he can."
Wow.
So I ended up literally with this deportee in a mosque with this guard outside. So we basically got a load of blankets and threw him on the floor, and he sort of put his head on my blow-up bed and slept.
To towing with him.
Bit of left and righty, but yeah, I didn't sleep much, to be honest. After that, my arsehole was going 10p dustbin lid, 10p fucking dustbin lid. But yeah, I've had some funny stories, and the thing is, right, everywhere I go, every week, I seem to go, "God, Jesus, I'm like collecting some funny stories here." Fantastic. You do come across them. It is nuts.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Imagine looking back on this, eh?
Sorry, sir?
Imagine looking back on this.
Actually, I love it now. I'm still doing it. I'm not looking back. I'm in.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
But, in 10 years' time, wow.
Every day it's just nuts. The Egypt, going for Egypt, you end up constant police patrols. But the Egyptians are ultra friendly. They are worried about us as Western tourists and the opinion we're going to give.
Yeah.
So I'm usually about 3 weeks behind on my editing all the time. I'm not doing it daily, just too much.
Yeah.
So I was in Egypt for about 5 weeks, and after about 4 weeks, I'd done the first Egyptian one. And now you get noticed a few times now. Bike guy Dave's getting out there a little bit, and people stop and they realise, and especially in certain countries, so Egypt and Kuwait, I got noticed everywhere.
Yeah.
And people realise what you're doing, and you're a good thing for Egypt. So they become really ultra friendly, and that's an odd feeling. But then it gets to the point where it's too much, and you're not having the ride. So I found myself looking for ways to avoid the the checkpoints, or avoid I'd hide behind lorries. That was my favourite one. I'd find a massive lorry when I could see a checkpoint. I'd hide behind it, and then literally just as I'm going through, I'd speed off the other side if they were that side of the lorry.
I do that with average speed check cameras.
That's exactly it. The speak, but then you'd look in your mirror and they'd be waving. You're like, oh my God, 700cc bike. Obviously, not all the time. There's never a lorry there, and sometimes you get caught. But
yeah, of course.
Again, they literally, and it's a standard 15 minutes. You have to spend every time you get caught, it's 15 minutes. Passport, please. Where are you? What are you doing? Oh, you're that guy off social media. Can we have a photograph? Can you have me on TikTok? Can you have me on this? And then because it's that, and then I usually want a toilet or a cup of tea, so I sit and have a cup of tea, and then I think, well, I've got to look for somewhere to stay. Is it all right if I stay with you? Yes, please. And then put your tent up next to my checkpoint. And so I've done that a few times, which is really cool. Yeah. And every time you do that, they always end up then, they'll say, oh, do you want food? And you give them like £1 and you get food for everybody. Bread and some meat and some, but yeah, I did get some good stories. You've had some good stories so far.
Have you had any times during this journey where you've had any mechanical issues or any breakdowns or anything that you've had to deal with? Yes.
Now, Yamaha, to their thing, to their skill, nothing that Yamaha did before I bought the bike has broken. Not one tiny thing. Now, general wear and tear, new chain and sprockets, tyres, stuff like that. Everything I added is a problem.
Right.
And I added literally a lot. So everything I've done has been, I'm working on all the time. It's just not designed to be on there. And then it's 27,000 kilometres so far. So it's taken a battering, and a lot of it off-road as well.
Yeah.
Off-road. So the tower, the navigation equipment, telephone, tyre pressure monitor, the Yamaha dashboard, that's taken a battering. And that cost me about $2,500 to build, because Yamaha don't do one. The supports at the back, the screen that comes up. It's weird though, you can get everything fixed wherever you go.
Yeah.
I was driving through, where was I? I was in the middle of, I think I was up in the mountains in Turkey. It might have been Turkey. No, I was in Bulgaria, right in the middle of nowhere. I was exhausted, right? And I pulled into this petrol station. My screen is hanging off by one screw. I was thinking, I've got to put some cable ties before I lose it. And this guy came over and he said, petrol. I said, oh, do you have RON 95? He's like, no, RON 98. I was like, fine. But I said, oh, just give me a minute. And I sat there and I was exhausted. Within a minute, he'd brought out a cup of chai for me and a bottle of water. I said, do you have any food? And he went, yes, hold on. I was like, oh, no worries, mate, just the petrol then. Within 5 minutes, his friend had come from the local farm with a lorry full of fruit, and we just sat there, and I was like, this is nuts. Before I'd even filled up the petrol, and he just gave me a load of dates, some strawberries, and we just sat there just eating it all, and I could feel my energy coming back up.
Yeah,
So a lot of the time, you can't get signal, on especially when you're right high up in the mountains. The sat-nav doesn't work. So you've got to go back to the old school. I've got a compass and ask, benzene. Oh yeah, you point, because it's not coming up on your telephone or your sat nav.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but the generosity of people I've found is unbelievable, Ian. It is unparalleled, outside of England, and outside of Dubai, New York, and the big hubs of the world. It is just different. It is just so lovely. You could be stopped at the side of the road anywhere, and somebody will pull up and say, "How can I help you? What do you need?"
Yeah, that's. I often think that because we're on bikes, we're seen to be more vulnerable. We are more vulnerable, both from an accident perspective and from a personal safety perspective. When we're clearly less of a threat as well, because we're not in a car that could have anything in the boot. There's not four of us that can jump out and hurt you. It's just one person on a bike that clearly is not carrying anything. Well,
you get searched a lot.
Did you? Have you? Yeah.
I get searched constantly. A lot of the country. So basically, every single country after I've left Turkey wants to know my filming equipment. And they want to know the drone. Do I have a license? Camera equipment. So at 3 borders so far, they want to physically see it, have it out, look at it, how much is on there. Most of the time, the batteries are bloody dead. They don't last forever. I carry a whole stack of spare batteries, but sometimes I'm away from a plug for 2 days.
Well, yeah.
And they're dead. So I say, you can't turn them on. Why? They run out of battery. Sorry, mate, I can plug it in if you want. But yeah, it's... So yeah, they're constantly, camera equipment is a really weird thing. I get searched for that, and it's everywhere. It's on my helmet here, and it's on the dashboard, the 360 one that does everything. So straight away, they know, they can see the camera. And they usually point to it. Is it off? Yeah. Sometimes when I forget to leave it on, I look afterwards, then I use that footage on the YouTube channel. But yeah, shouldn't really do it. But generally, everyone's lovely, stunningly lovely.
Yeah.
Twice I've provided first aid for people, both times at checkpoints. Yeah, I had basically a squaddy fell like a tank and scraped up all his arm, and they all just stared at him, and there was blood dripping down, and I said, yeah, come here, mate. And I opened up my first aid kit. Again, firefighter, so I'm pretty highly trained at all that stuff.
Yeah.
Been there, seen it, done it as well. And they were just all staring at him, and I thought, well, somebody's got to help him. But I thought, yeah, come here, mate, and got my gloves out, and they're all then looking at me doing it. I was like, oh, I forgot to turn my bloody camera on. That would have been a good episode.
It would, yeah. Wow. And that sort of ingratiates you with them, because it makes you look the human side, the helpful, friendly person, not just someone riding.
You're only there for 15 minutes. 15-minute friendships at every checkpoint. It's all you ever are.
I bet your social media is full of people from the Middle East then, isn't it?
It's full up with people now everywhere. I'll tell you what's weird is getting noticed. So obviously the more Bike Guide Day gets out there, getting noticed is weird. In Q8, I was with one of the Q80 riders. We were in a restaurant. It's probably about 11 o'clock at night. Yeah. And there was a big, massive crowd. I weren't really paying much attention. And a lot of women in burqas.
Yeah.
And, in the Middle East, I can care less. If they want to, I understand. I'm not going to get political or religious. They were women in burqas. And my friend said to me, he said, Dave, they want their picture taken with you. And I was like, how do you know? And he went, they're all speaking in Arabic. They've recognised you. I said, yeah, sure, of course they can. Now, the weird thing is, so I then got my camera out straight away. Everyone's done that. So they're dressed in a burqa, but they use their camera.
Right.
And then they don't want their picture taken.
Yeah.
But they want their picture taken with me. I'm like, yeah, I don't care.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah. Getting noticed is very weird.
Yeah. I wouldn't know. I don't even get noticed at home.
Yeah.
I mean, in the house.
Do you know what's weird? My son phoned me up about 2 days later and he went, Dad, do you know you're viral? I said, what do you mean? He said, well, it's all over my TikTok now and my social media. He said, I don't even follow you.
That's great. Isn't it?
Not fair.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, it's nice that, we all, sometimes people say, oh, yeah, I'm not really bothered. But actually, it's lovely to think that you're doing something.
I want to share my journey.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to share it. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely.
For people who can't do it, and for people who can't do it in our society, in our hobby, there's not many. If you look on Horizons Unlimited, there's only 305 people ever done this. Wow. And I think there's about 60 of them solo. So I'm in a small club that are trying to do this or have done it.
Yeah. And, honestly, you should be very, very...
I'm not proud. I want to share it. I do like the idea of sharing it.
Totally. Yeah.
It's pretty cool to share.
It is. And, I'll be honest with you, I spent, certainly a couple of hours yesterday looking through your stuff, looking at your stuff. And I enjoyed it.
I've got one more subscriber.
Yeah.
That's 11 now, then.
And I felt like, it makes you feel, it's a bit like, watching I love watching documentaries about stuff, and it takes you there. And that was taking me there.
Remember I said earlier, I rushed the first bit. I look back at Series 1 and I'm embarrassed. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Everybody who's going to watch this can ride a motorbike. So let's get that out there now. We're all pretty much the same age. We're all going to be around the same skill level. We're all the same, riding a motorbike. What we're not the same as is this technology.
Yeah.
What a learning curve that was. The editing, the filming, I'd never done it before in my life.
Yeah.
That was a massive learning curve. And I look back at Series 1 now, And I'm like, oh, can I go back and do it again? And the fun bits are there, but they're so bad. Some of the screen footage is like that, and yeah, you can't watch it barely. But hopefully it's got better.
Yeah, you've got better, and you do. It's like an organic thing. You've done the journey in time, journey in distance, and also a journey in experience about what you're doing, aren't you?
Yes.
You know, we all are.
It's not easy.
No.
Don't anybody out there. The bike riding's easy. It's every other part. I'm constantly looking for money exchanges, constantly looking for a SIM card, constantly looking for a hotel, a place to camp. Stuff breaks every day. I'm constantly thinking a little bit ahead. So I'm in Dubai now. It's Christmas, so I'm going to stay here till then. But even though it's Christmas, I'm on the phone trying to ship now. It's so from Dubai to Karachi is about 500 miles, and to get the bike there, it's a mammoth. It's not an easy thing to do, and to do it cost effectively. For me to fly there, it's about an hour's flight, and it's about 40 quid.
Yeah.
But to move a person around the world is very easy. To move anything outside the size of a suitcase is bloody hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
Shipping your motorbike anywhere is hard. Don't anybody think it's easy.
No. And I was going to ask you about how whether, your planning when it came to accommodation, and did you book any with a time scale, or did you think, no, I want to be free, so I haven't done that and I'll do it a few days before? How did that work?
Good question. So the first hotel in France did that. So I would book the ticket. As I said, I did do this first week with somebody else. Booked the ticket across the train and booked the first night's hotel. And then the next night, only because I wanted to go to Ypres to see the army bit, so we booked one near there. It's only about 40 miles the first day. I thought, well, ease into it. That turned into a bloody nightmare. We both fell off twice.
Really?
Yeah, and the second day. When you watch my videos, if you see the shot and I'm in tall grass and the bike going over like that, that's the second day of this whole bloody trip.
Wow.
I basically hit a massive rock underneath 6 foot high grass that I was trying to ride through. But yeah, anyway. So hotels, other than the first 2 nights, no. You never know where you are. You just don't know where you are. You're kind of heading in that way. And this day and age with booking.com, hotels.com, Airbnb, what I found is the best thing is to go on Google, put hotels near me, and if you click the bottom left, it brings up all the apps and it will show you which one's the cheapest. So one it is, I just then go on the app and then book the hotel. During Europe, camping a lot. Where was I? 2 days. We've done 2 days with the Omani riders. Amazing weekend. Gets there the first night, there was a big feast laid out, but 50% the off-road guys, there was 2 groups, off-road and on-road. The off-road guys were camping. So I said, yeah, no, I love camping, get the tent out. Got the tent out, lovely tent. It's one of those, you can't bend it, fit your motorbike in. If it's raining, you've got to work on it. Went to blow my bed up, put my sleeping bag down. I've gone to get some food, get some scran, and had that, come back, bed's flat as a pancake. Oh. And it's probably midnight now, and I'm looking at it thinking, please no, please I've just kept the cap off.
Yeah.
But no, basically, I've got a puncher in the bed.
Oh, no.
So I've decided I'm going to send the tent home from Dubai. I'm going to, only because next is Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, and accommodation's cheap out there. You can stay anywhere for a tenner a night. Yeah. And I'm just carrying it for the sake of carrying it. So yeah, the tent's going home for this leg.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I'm going to be there probably for about 7 months as well. It's a big country, 2 billion people I've got to meet. So
yeah, that's quite a few a day, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. So the tent's going home. So accommodation, and some days you just don't care. Weirdly, some of the crappiest hotels always had the best beds.
Yeah.
And then other times you've got washing to do, so you want to find a washing machine. The most currencies I've had at one time has been 9, and you end up with a stack of notes like that probably could be worth 30p or 400 quid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's weird. I didn't realise currency exchanges I would have to do. Yeah, that's a real weird thing.
Well, yeah. I've got a couple of tips, really. And I mean, one might not going to be relevant to everyone, but I found recently that these eSIMs being very useful. Because just like you, when I've been traveling either on a bike or not, trying to get a SIM for your phone in the country you're in can be quite challenging because some
hardest bit technology.
Yeah, when it comes to something as simple as Turkey, for example, which can be third world and incredibly first world advanced, depending where you are.
Massively.
They, because of the fear of terrorism, they trying to get a SIM card. They want your passport. They want to photograph it. They want a nightmare. They want your address. They can have it for a certain period. Then your phone's turned off. It's like, wow. And that's not, unique to Turkey. And you can't buy a local SIM unless you know someone. It's got to be a tourist SIM, which of course will be 10 times more than a local SIM, and so on and so forth. And I've struggled.
Do you know what I found, Ian? Do you know what I found though? It's nice to disconnect.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love it. All my family know where I am, and I have a sat phone. But yeah, it's nice to disconnect, my friend.
So you've got that emergency if you need it.
I get to some place and I think, there's one. I think, I'm leaving the country tomorrow. I'll leave it. Yeah, I love it. I like disconnecting.
No, I can appreciate that, and it is one of the
nice.
Yeah, it's one of the benefits of riding as well. That disconnect that I talked about early doors about coming home from work and disconnecting from the stress is the same thing, isn't it?
Mm.
Just being away from everything.
You do get anxious. You do get stressed.
Yeah.
I came out one Sunday morning and I knew I had to cross this mountain range. I hadn't slept well and I was stopped at the bottom and you could physically see it. And I knew it was going to be a climb and a half and I was going to be probably doing 40 miles in 7 hours. And I was looking at it and I sat there thinking, what am I doing? I remember I sat there for probably 5 minutes, and I thought, well, if I go home, then what?
Yeah.
I've got the ability to be just doing it now. So I just put my leg over the bike and went up the mountain. I love going downhill. Don't know why. Hate going uphill. Motorbikers always like going uphill, except for
I'm going to say, usually coming really down's the more challenging.
I like it. I find the challenge better than going uphill. Really? I find going uphill just boring as shit.
Yeah. Wow. Well, I know you said you rushed Europe a little bit more than you wish you had, but clearly you've whether you learned from that or decided,
massively.
I'm going to really immerse myself in the countries since that. Certainly since you came into the Middle East and speaking fondly of Iraq, and you came from Iraq into Jordan. Did you?
Jordan, yeah.
And then
very, very few people do it. So I know again. We kind of all know each other. There's a guy called Joel who's doing the journey today that I've done, and he's only the third person I know in 2 years to have done it. There's one German guy did it a year ago, and this Joel, he's from Portugal. He's doing it at the moment. Again, there's not many of us that are currently riding around the world.
Yeah.
He's in contact asking questions, but it's not an easy ride. It's not for the faint-hearted, that one. I mean, go to Baghdad and just drive straight to Kuwait, and that's easy. It's just like people everywhere. And
there's a highway for most of it, and there's a big highway.
There's a highway, yes. The Baghdad, so from Fallujah to Jordan, from Fallujah to Amman, there's nothing. Right. Probably 800 kilometres, nothing, other than the border and a checkpoint.
Wow.
And 3 petrol stations.
Well, there's something I haven't mentioned to you that I picked up from your looking at your social media over the last few days.
Yes, I am.
yeah, join the club. And one of them was that I think most people would try and stick to highways if they're going around the world as much as they can, because people are thinking of like Bruce, who Teapot One, he did it on his, Gixxer, or
Oh, the Gixxer guy, yeah.
You ain't got much choice really, within reason. But I noticed looking at your introduction on your website.
Off-road.
Yeah, that off-road is a part of your history.
Massively, yeah.
And being a member of a club that rides off-road and stuff. How much did that influence this journey and how you did it?
Massively. So when I first started this, it has to evolve. You can't stick to you have your plan A through F, and I'm on Z already. I wanted to try and ride off-road the whole world. So you don't know if you know it, most off-roaders do it. So there's a road called the Trans-European Trail. I don't know if you've heard of the TET. Yeah. It's in Yorkshire, it's quite big. So it's a road that runs from top of Norway down to the top of Africa and into some of Africa.
Yeah.
I tried to follow as best I could coming through Europe, the TET. But especially when you get to Bulgaria, Romania, through the Balkans and through Turkey, the TET gets tough. It's designed for small, lightweight WRF 450, CRF 300.
Yeah.
Yes, the 125s. It's designed for them. My 700cc, 300 kilogram bike is just, and I'm on my own.
Yeah.
So I try to ride as much as I can because I love riding off road. I find it fun. It's a whole new different skill set. I love it. But I can't do it all the time.
Yeah.
But I try to do it as much as I can. Also, it's just a bit more, you see other stuff. I get lost out in the middle of nowhere and I see stuff that's not usually seen by people. Yeah, and it's pretty good. Itchy Boots, Norley, she does a lot of off-road. She's actually doing the same sort of route at the moment, I've noticed. But yeah, just trying to ride off-road is it gives me that sense of being alone and that freedom and just kind of a bit of an explorer, even though all these places have been found already, but you just kind of, that feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. It's clear though. That's what the reason I asked that was. It's clear talking to you that you've purposely made it more challenging than it could have been.
Massively.
I mean,
you're not wrong. No, nobody does the Iraq to Jordan, then into bloody Egypt. I do know anybody. So yeah, I think I've not seen anybody's other social media with Egypt. I have made it hard badly sometimes, but I'm enjoying it still. Yeah, it's still evolving. It's still evolving.
I guess that what I think you know, I mean, I'm not in your head, but sometimes people say you can fly around the world in sort of 72 hours. So anyone can go around the world.
Simon said it.
Did he? Yes.
Ted Simon said
That's
it.
probably where I've got that from then. Yeah, having read it.
If you go on the cover of my Facebook page, it's actually on there on the flag at the top.
There you go. So I am in your head.
Anybody can fly around the world in literally 24 hours now.
Yeah.
But to drive across it and see everything, that's a hard thing to do.
And there's that huge variation between me that might fly around the world in 24 hours and you that does it over years.
3 years it'll probably take me, yeah.
Yeah, and there's that massive variation of people that I think, didn't someone recently do it in, like he went round the world in 8 weeks or something on a bike?
But the record on a push bike is 102 days.
Wow, it takes me that long to get to Co-op and back.
That's the record on. I think the record on a motorbike is something like 62 or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, so like 2 months, 8 weeks.
About 2 months, yeah.
But that experience is not going to be the same as yours.
No. And again, at the start, my brain. So I did the America. So when I get to Japan, I've ridden around the world, but I flip-flop daily. So I think, right, when I get to Australia, shall I go to South Africa and go up there that way? Or when I get to America, shall I go across to Alaska, then all the way down to the bottom and then up that way? My mind changes, but that's 2 years' time. I keep thinking I'll see more of the world, getting to Japan and then coming back. So I think to myself, well, I've already done the other bit, so I can still say I've ridden around the world, but I can come back and make it even longer. So across the moguls, across Russia, across the top of China. So, I keep thinking, should I do that and go through the stands? Because I've missed the stands. Everybody says, the stands are great, only because they've not chose the hard route, which is the one I'm doing, I believe.
You remind me, this little dog here, he'll be a bit of a star eventually because he's often on my knee when I'm doing these. Rocky, he has a tracker on him, and we live on the edge of some countryside, and he can disappear after, hares and rabbits and stuff.
Have a little wander.
Yeah, and when I go for a walk with him, I'll be going a bit later on. We'll go through some woods, and I'll do about 2 miles. And his tracker shows that he does about 6.5 miles.
It's me, you're doing that.
That's you. Because I walk straight along the path, like a worn track through the woods. And he's off, left, right, chase a squirrel, chase a rabbit, back, left, right, goes backwards. He's all over. Because every time we go, he does different stuff because he wants to see new stuff. And, he loves it. And you're the Cocker Spaniel of the around the world.
It does get hard, that. So I came through to Q8, and now through things I've been invited to, they said, oh, the next event's in Oman. So that's like 1,500 kilometres down. So I rode down to Oman, and then after Oman, the next one was back up in Bahrain, which is 1,000 kilometres. And then the next one's in UAE, so that's 700 kilometres. I was like, it got to the point, I was like, yeah, I've had enough of this now. I've had enough of this now.
When you're saying that, it's opening up. Famous for having a great imagination. I'm trying to think how you might superimpose that journey you just talked about on Europe. It's like meeting someone.
Okay, so I've done it. Yeah, if you go on social media, I've overlaid a map of just Saudi, and it literally covers from.
That's scary.
It covers from Scotland down to the bottom of Italy.
Wow.
So this is the journey. Saudi Arabia is fucking massive. It covers the hold on. Let's see if I can put it up on here. It is 5 times the size of Britain. I don't think it's on there anymore. No, I deleted it. But yeah, if you go on my social media, I've overlaid. I did it because of the Dakar. The Dakar starts in January the 3rd.
Right.
And the routes those guys do, it is some of the days, it's like driving from London to Scotland. People think, they're just going across the sand and everything. No, those boys. And then they have to do that solidly every day for 2 weeks. Yeah, it is nuts. Yeah.
Crazy. But it just shows.
I've actually had an invite with the Saudi team to go to the Dakar as well.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing, eh? What a lovely group of people that chance encounter, the stuff that's
a burger. I was exhausted. I'm a chatty person like yourself, Ian, and I had no chat in me. I wanted to grunt at people. I was physically 2-3 days of no sleep. Yeah. One of those was in the mosque, which I had no sleep. I was stinking. I'd had a shower, hot, and I just wanted to sleep. And I had a beef burger in my hand, and I was like, right, lads, my bike. And they were like, boom. And next thing you know, literally that night, I didn't get to bed till 2 a.m. That night, they literally dragged me to the opening event. And this is a good story, actually. So I just literally arrived in the Middle East. Didn't even think about it. And they said, right. I said, okay, let me go and change. Tell me the address and I'll meet you there. So I've gone up. I threw on basically a clean T-shirt because that's all I had. You don't bring your tuxedo when you travel the world.
No.
And I turned up at the hotel, but I thought, well, I've got to have a couple of beers. I'm exhaustedly tired. I'm not going to talk to anybody. So I've gone up to the bar in the top floor, and I think I had 4 pints of Stella. I thought, right, I'm warmed up, let's go down. Of course, they don't bloody drink, so I'm the only pissed one there who hasn't slept for 4 days, slurring a bit, and they're all eating cake and drinking coffee, and I'm like, what have I done?
Yeah.
But yeah, the Q80 guy who's become Habib, who's become a real great friend of mine, he literally realised, was giggling. He said, come on. And he had like a hip flask full of some whiskey or something. And I was having a few nips with him. But yeah, when you preload to go to a dude that nobody else drinks at, I was like, what are you doing, you dickhead? Yeah, it was fun.
Fabulous. My God.
Yeah.
And so how many countries did you say you've ridden through now?
37, I think 37.
That's
hold on. It might be 27, I can't remember. 27? No, it's over that now, 27, 28. I think about 30 so far. Wow. But to be honest, Some of them are just like Qatar is a road. You go in and you come out. You're in and out of it in 2 hours.
Yeah, right.
And so it's not really, it's like Liechtenstein.
It's not
Yeah,
like a separate adventure. It's just part of.
it's a ride through. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And how many have you got to go, or does that depend on what the adventure brings?
Ask me in 3 years, my friend. Ask me in 3 years. Yeah, God knows. I mean, I can tell you the next 6 months. I think by it comes to May, I shall be heading for the Himalayas to have the adventure there, which is, apparently is a whole different ball game. So, yeah, yeah, after the Himalayas, who knows? I mean, I am going to try. I'll hold my hands up. I am going to try and get through Bhutan. Myanmar, if I can. Some days I hear you can, some days you can't. So, if in 6 months' time, as the world has changed this week, Syria has now become a place where I could probably get into. And if this would have happened before, the Syria route, it would have taken 3 weeks off my journey.
Yeah.
As it turns out, Iraq was amazing, but yeah. So the world's a changing place, my friend. Let's see what happens.
It is, especially when you're doing a journey, as long and as diverse as yours. Things can change when you're on a fortnight's holiday, can't they? So, certainly for you, your planning it's basically going to be your life for 4 years, as opposed to something you did once.
Yeah, pretty much. It's not so bad. I mean, I've got a great family. They've all got trips to come out and see me at various times. My son wants to come with me to ride through India. And plus I've got a friend in Dubai who I haven't seen for about 5 years. I was out with him last night. So you got the world is a small place these days. I've got various friends coming out to do different bits with me, to come and see me. So as we said, fly. You can get to Australia. You can get all around the world in 24 hours.
Yeah.
But it's a small world these days, unless you decide to go and see all of it.
Well, I was going to ask you actually, when you mentioned about having an understanding family. I thought, well, you'd have to have, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I always feel a bit guilty with having this house in Turkey. Sometimes I like, for you, like you talked about being offline. It's nice. I guess it's a good time to talk about mental health. I sometimes benefit from being out of it a bit. And, only, this is not true only of men, but sometimes I can only speak from a man's perspective. There's a reason why men come home from work and sit in the car for 10 minutes before they come in the house. It's not because they don't want to go in the house. It's not because they don't want to see the family. You just need that.
The biggest thing about this trip, my friend, Ian, the hardest thing is this. I think about it all the time. Now, I am who I am. I've told you I'm ex-military. You and I had the same training-ish at 16 years old. We got moulded into what they wanted us to be. I then, for the next 30 years, just dealt with everybody else's crap. And a lot of my friends say I lack empathy and I lack the depth that normal people have because of what I've done and what I've seen. That what I decided, and I probably did this after about a week and a half. So the guy that was with me, he left, and after about a week and a half of being on my own, this is all about this.
Yeah.
And this is hard. This really does. And you need to take time for yourself and your brain. And when it gets to you, you need to talk about it.
Yeah.
And you need to make it about what's in here and in here, because riding a bike is easy.
Yeah.
A few pennies in the bank will allow anybody to do what I'm doing. It really, really will. And a bit of a sense of adventure. But this is the hard bit, my friend. That's the hard bit to overcome. Yeah. You have to talk about it. You have to understand it's happening and own it. If you feel that day I sat there at that mountain and I looked at it and I was anxious. I won't lie to you.
Yeah.
This is not something we talk about. I was anxious. I was looking at that thinking, fuck me. Now, it didn't turn to panic.
No.
And I got on and I split it up into stages. But sometimes that adrenaline does rush. I was literally in the middle of nowhere in the desert. And when I say in the middle of nowhere, I'm talking 200 miles to a petrol station either way.
Yeah,
There's nothing. I hadn't seen a lorry for an hour. I tell you what, I did see. Have I told you this story? But we'll finish your mental health, and I could feel the fear rising in me. And I'm in there. I am literally alone. Now I've got good knowledge. I know how to do. I've got a half a tank of fuel. I've got a satellite telephone. I've got tools. I've got first aid kits, trauma kits. I've got water. But in my brain, you start overthinking it. That fear starts to come up. And you have to understand why. You have to stop. You have to breathe. You have to think, okay, right, let's fix this. Work the problem.
Yeah.
Which I did. Anyway, so I've got to tell you this another story now I've remembered.
Yeah, of course.
We're literally in the middle of nowhere. And you don't see sometimes when you're literally, you see the lorries occasionally or petrol tankers going to deliver the fuel that I need.
Mm.
And there was this car, and it was a one-lane road, and there was this car parked, and I'm doing 130 kilometres an hour. I'm boom. I thought, he's just sitting there, cross-legged, looking at his car. No bonnet was up, so I thought, I'll turn around. Slowed down, turned around, I come back, and he looked at me, and I said, and he went, do you have air? I said, what? Do you have air? And he was pointing at his tyre, and I thought, oh, he's got a puncture. This guy, we were 150 miles from anything. He had no clue how to fix the tyre, no spare, no repair kit. He had no water, and it is probably 35 degrees in the middle of the desert.
Wow.
So I gave him, I carry a spare 2-litre bottle. I gave him that. I said, not all of it. I need to find your puncture as well.
Yeah.
I then jacked his car up. He didn't have a clue. I found the hole. I then took my plug repair kit, fixed it, and I said, look, you go. And he said, I want to go that way. I said, I'm going that way. You need to come with me and get this fixed. It might not last. I'll fix it again for you. But I often think when my mental health is getting the better of me, and I think, slow down. And I remember that moment, and I thought, well, that guy was fucked. I've got a lot of options still.
Yeah.
Without me helping him, he would have just sat there.
Nightmare.
There was no phone signal. We're in the middle of nowhere. That was a weird moment. That was.
But it was, yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird moment. But yes, going back to this, my friend, this and this inside here, that's what this journey's about.
Yeah.
Not about riding a motorbike around the world. It's about, I want to come out of this a better person. I want to come out with being more appreciative of people, being more tolerant of people, and a lot smilier and a lot happier. And I think I'm smiley and happy anyway. A lot more, a better mind.
Yeah, I think I can definitely empathise with you. You know, I know I can. You know, in my job, I saw lots of things, as you did, that normal people shouldn't see. And prided myself, and still do to a degree, on how I handled that mentally.
Yeah.
You know, because for not wanting to lighten it, but just like you have an incredibly dark sense of humour that you have to use to, you know.
I try not to. People don't understand it.
You don't understand, no, and you're right.
You and I do. Luckily, my wife does, but you and I don't.
No, exactly. And I'm, you know, just like many people from let's just say, a uniform background. I've told a joke at a party and it's gone down like a lead balloon because they all think, what is wrong with him? And I'm like giggling to myself before I can even finish saying it.
I haven't even heard it and I'm finding it funny.
So funny. One thing that I've got a wonderful legacy that reminds me of my dad is he used to tell a story or a joke, and before he finished, he started laughing and couldn't finish saying it. And I've got that same thing.
You definitely met my missus.
Yeah, I just like, and they're like, you are sick. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, oh. So that has helped me get through life. But post-uniform life is a bit different. Talking to civvies, talking to people. When I refer to civvies, I don't mean not military, but, you know, people have not been in the uniformed services. They've not had to deal with stuff. They've not had to use it like we have. So they can.
Have you ever had to deal with something with your civilian friends there?
Yes, I have.
How did they react?
Well, I think various ways, but the first one I've noticed is they're a bit in awe. They're like, wow.
Yes, weirdly, yes.
What is Wow.
And the second thing, they're deers in headlights.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? I was just talking to my son, who I'm sure, well, I hope he'll listen to this. And just last
Sure, my
night,
family will too.
yeah, just last night actually, and he said, "Do you remember that time?" And I can't go into it, but do you remember that time you did blah blah when this happened? And I said, "Yeah, I do, yeah." And he went, and everyone were like, "What the hell?" And I said, "Yeah, I do." He said, "Honestly, Dad," I says, "I watched the CCTV, body worn camera actually, of that, and I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow." And he says, "I'm not bigging you up, but are you just my dad?" So it was so weird to see you doing that.
But for everybody else in a uniform or you and I, it's just what you do.
Yeah,
But for other people, they're always in awe and they're always deers in headlights.
yeah, yeah.
That makes us very good in a tiny bit of situations, which isn't normal life.
Yes.
But the thing is, we can't switch off from being that person.
No.
And other people don't understand that we try our hardest not to be that person all the time.
Yeah.
But that's what I've worked out, my friend.
Yeah. A few days ago, I read an article just on, must have been on social media, I guess. But it was a news article about a rising cases of seat squatters on aircraft. And it basically, yeah, I thought that, seat squatters. And basically it's people that go on the plane, even though the boarding pass says 33E. And they think, oh no, I'm going to sit on 1A because it looks nicer. And so they'll just sit there and refuse to move. An aircraft, because of the impact on the flight schedule, they decided they're not going to stop a flight for that. They'll ask them, and if they don't, well, it's a bit awkward. We'll beg them and please come on. You don't unreasonable.
So I can just sit in first class and then not move.
Well, yeah, I suppose so. But and I thought, and I commented on
again, no.
People were saying, I'll ask them, but what can you do? And I said, I consider myself to be very chilled and very much a pacifist. I'd rather talk than fight anytime.
Especially on an aeroplane.
Especially on an aeroplane. However, if someone was sat in my seat and I the first thing I'd do is say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't. I'm on 1A, and if I'm sorry, I think you must have sat in the wrong seat." Now I know from experience of life, like you do, that 99.9% of people would go,
"Sorry, mate.
Sorry, mate, I didn't realise." Even if they did it on purpose, they'd be hoping maybe no one was in that seat. Most of them would have done it by mistake. You often see it with the E, F, and G, don't you? D, E, F, G, H. They're on the wrong side because they're not very clear. And so most people I know would go, "Oh, sorry about that," and they'd move. The odd one would say, "Well, can I see your ticket?" And new rise in people who think they've got to see evidence, of everything. So I'll be like, "Yeah, there it is. Look. Mine says A1. All right. Okay. Well, can't you sit anywhere else?" No. Okay. And they'd move. I'd say most of those people. But there's a tiny percentage, apparently, these new people that I'm now going to visualize interacting with who'd say, "Well, I'm not moving." So I would become more assertive. And I'd say, "Well, you know what? You are. At some point, I just need you to know that I've paid for that seat, especially if it's extra airplane. I know, and that's the awkwardness, isn't it?
You've got to just do what you're told on an airplane because you can get banned from that shit. You're screwed.
I know. But, I'm trying to think about how our mindset works.
Yeah.
My mindset is, I'd be nice. I'd say, "Look, I'm really sorry." I suppose the reality is I'd probably say to the crew, "Can you help me with this a bit?" The person sat in my seat, and I don't know. He's now going to sit next to my wife and son on this 14-hour journey, and I'm going to sit in 37D with some stranger. That's just ridiculous. And they'd probably have a go at dealing with it. But the reality is, apparently, there's this, because people are afraid of dealing with it for various reasons. One, getting banned. Two, we have this culture now where if you
be banned, the person that was doing it.
You'd think so, wouldn't you?
Well,
but
yeah.
Apparently, there's this thing.
The ultimate thing, you're on the no-fly list.
Yeah, that's easy, isn't it? Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
On this occasion, I'm not going to.
You're on the no-fly list.
Not going to disrupt the flight. You can sit there, but
first class, mate.
You won't fly again. Or even don't tell them, but just do it.
Surely those people understand that. You don't fuck around on airplanes.
Yeah.
At all.
But, I come from a world where I'll ask you nice. I'll ask you nice again. I'll ask you nice again. I'll cajole you. I'll make a joke of it. I'll become a little bit more assertive. But ultimately, you're not sitting there. Maybe on an aircraft, I'd have to capitulate and think, I can't allow it to become an issue of violence.
Yeah, the cinema, I might have,
Cinema, yeah.
Actually, I paid for those seats, or something. Yeah. Yeah.
But apparently that's a problem, that an ongoing issue. And I think it's...
Where did you hear that? Where did you hear that, Ian?
Well, I think it was someone had posted from a news, I don't know, Daily Mail. Try not to read that, but,
That's one thing, right? This is if you want to, if anything from this that you take away for your mental health, this is a good practical thing that every single person can do. If you open your phone up, you don't have to do it now, but I'm sure you can picture the little squares on your whatever phone you've got. I bet you either the first screen or the second screen, you've got a news app on there somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I bet you within the morning when you wake up, you probably flick through socials, see your emails, but within about 10 minutes, you're on that news. Sure. Right. Get those news apps and put them on the furthest of the screens and put them all together and put them away. You don't have to delete them. You do need to know the news sometimes. But disconnecting yourself from the daily crap that other people want you to happen, which isn't real. I'm literally a living evidence of. I've sat there. What was it recently? Where was I? Something was happening. I was like, that's not happening. I was there right now. I'm there. Where was I? So it was like a flood or something. It was all over the news. You see these floods,
yes.
in Italy maybe. And I was like, that's not happening.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
It's crazy.
But yeah, so get those tiles of the news and just move them to the end. Don't delete them. We want to every now and then catch up. But don't fill your brain up with other people's negativity, like this seat thing.
Yeah.
Like with what's happening in Iraq.
Yeah.
Fill out with good things. Fill your brain
really
up
good advice,
with the good parts of life, my friend. Get those squares, move them to the other end of your phone.
Yeah. It's the same. I guess you're right. Absolutely very good advice. And it's a variation of my TikTok.
My friend did it. He said, I'll stop watching the news. I said, where'd you get on? He said, what do I need to know? He said, if it's a really big event, then people talk to me about it. It comes up on social media, but I don't want to know that somebody's killed 16 people in America. I understand that's a problem in the world, but I don't want that shoved down my throat.
Impact on me one way or another, apart from make me feel bad. Yeah.
And then you slowly drip feed the floods, the famine, the crap that's happening in this massive world. But get out there and have a look at it, which is what I'm trying to do. It's not what Al Jazeera, BBC, or Sky News tell you.
Oh no, I know that.
It's really not. No. Don't fill your head up with that crap.
No,
sorry.
No. So you only, ironically, after me telling you that, you're just giving the same advice I give people. I deleted. Well, for example, I don't watch news on TV at all.
No,
I just don't watch it. I don't need it. I don't need to watch it. But you're right. I do flick through. I think it's just
Sky News, BBC, Al Jazeera.
Google, it's just Google News I have on it. It's just the
Google News, same thing.
Through it, and then
So basically, one person at Google decides what you read in the morning.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's not conspiracy. Somebody has to physically get that and put it on Google.
You have to place it on there. Yeah.
So you're reading what they want you to read. Just read to get rid of all that shit in your life.
Yeah. Great.
You don't need it.
Great. So you're absolutely right, and thanks for that.
No,
so you are living it rather than reading it, and it's a very much better place.
I try not to be the news. I try to I'd like to see everything once and meet everybody twice, but other than that, I don't want to be part of the news.
No. But you live in the reality of these places that you. I think the key one was when you mentioned about Iraq. If you read about it or if you listen to people's advice, you'd never go.
Go, guys. Beautiful. And I tell you what, they have their customs is easier than England. And I tell you what, right? You go from Turkey, you drive across the border, and it is the most easiest customs. They basically put these great big numbers, 1 to 6, 1, 2, 3. So you go to 1, passport, does that, stamp. Where next? Number two, go there, get your thing. Number 3, would you like a cup of tea while I check your motorbike over and get the VIN number? Yeah, no problem. Number 4, and I was out. It is just the simplest system in the world.
Wow.
Whereas you go to Oman. Oman is the 3rd richest country on the planet. Fucking hell. Trying to get in that country's hard work. They're like, where'd you go? I don't know. Do I need insurance? I don't know. Do you need my passport? Oh, have you got a visa? No. Oh, you better go over there first then. And I was like that. I'm crisscrossing for 5 hours. Yeah, it's nuts. But yeah, anyway.
So it reminds me of trying to put my wife's name on our house in Turkey. It was in my name when I bought it, and then I said, I'm getting on a bit.
It's hard.
No,
don't get me wrong. The worst one was leaving Egypt. It took me 3 days.
What?
I ended up in court.
Really?
You want another story?
Yeah. What happened there?
I told you about. I was trying to avoid the police escorts all the time.
Yeah.
They basically they stop you from meeting people. Like once the police are there, you're just following them. Now, sometimes there's nothing to see. You're in a desert, so whatever. I'll follow them. The roads all the time just run out in a non-developed world. So we were driving down this road, just a dual 2-lane highway, and the road stopped, and it was quite deep sand. Now, riding my big bike off-road in deep sand, you cannot do it slow. You have to lean back. You've got to get that front wheel, and you've got to be bouncing over it.
Yes.
You've got to look up, put a bit of power into it.
Yeah.
This copper didn't know this. So I'm trying to follow him. I'm all over the place. I'm going to fall. I was like, sod that. Cranked it up, stood up, put a bit of power on. And anyway, I thought I'll see him at the next checkpoint. Gets there, and he's fuming with me. You can't do this. You've done this. I said, look, mate, I was going to crash. And then you'd have had an incident on your hand. You'd have been picking me up and taking me to hospital with a bleeding broken leg. So I had to put some power on, and I tried to. He weren't listening. Anyway, So he's ranting and raving at me. And you lost your number plate. Now, when you go into Egypt, they give you Egyptian number plates.
Right.
You register your bike in Egypt. So I lost an Egyptian number plate. Cost a tenner in England. Buy it off eBay, down the local market. Anyway, so I had a spare because one's supposed to go on the front. So I lobbed the spare on. A week and a half later, I'm finally leaving the country. I rocks up, didn't even think about it. And the guy said, where's the other one? I said, I lost that with one of your escorts off-road. The world just changed for me in that instant. Literally, I tried bribing, and in the end, I had to. If you go on my social media, it took me 3 days to end up in front of a magistrate, explaining written statements, and then the written statements had to be written in. In the end, I paid for a fixer. It cost me $10 for 3 days because my motorbike had gone into the port. They wouldn't let me take it out again because I've already exported the physical motorbike. Oh my Lord. It was a nightmare. 3 days it took me to leave Egypt. Yeah, and in the end, on the very, very last one, because I had the GoPro on loads, I filmed it all, and I got there, and if you watch the Egypt one, the guy said to me, okay, really well done. Would you like to pay me for helping you? I was like, I'm sorry. And he went, if you want to get through to the final bit, you've got to pay me. And I got it all on camera. And as he said it, I went like that. And I pointed to it, and he went, hey, I was only joking. Off you go. And I was like, hey, I bet you bloody were. See, I caught his bribe asking for a bribe on camera.
Wow.
Yeah, 3 days leaving Egypt was hard work. And in front of a magistrate, I'm like that. I went, shwe Arabic. And the judge laughed, and I said, look, I've lost a piece of metal. Sorry. Would you want me to pay for it? And in the end, it cost me $300 for all the paperwork, the magistrate, the police reports, the filing of it. Yeah, $300 it cost me in the end.
I wonder what they think they benefit from with all that. What I mean, like, they're not going to, certainly not encouraging people to go back, are they?
Don't trust each other. Trust is a massive issue in Egypt, in Africa generally.
Right.
And they the worst thing is, right, so you go up to to get from Egypt, African Egypt, into Asian Egypt, South Sinai, across the Suez Canal.
Yeah.
To get from one side of the road to the other takes about 7 hours. So you get to the first checkpoint and the people at the next checkpoint are watching you go through the process, and it takes an hour.
Yeah.
You show your paperwork, you show all your carnet, your reams and reams of paperwork you have. And they're watching you do this. You get to the next bit and they just repeat the process because the police don't trust the army. The tourist police don't trust the police. The immigration don't trust the police. It is just trust. And it's not, they physically don't trust the person. They just don't trust each other of the government, the branches of the government.
Right.
It's like the fire brigade not trusting the ambulance service.
Yeah.
So this guy's got this, so he's got a broken leg and he's cardiac arrest, etc., etc. I'd give that to the ambulance, and the ambulance going, no, I don't believe you.
Yeah.
Even though he's
we better check ourselves. Yeah.
I'm going to check ourselves, which is understandable, but yeah, a lot of trust issues in Africa.
Really? Wow. Interesting.
And this is the weirdest one. So you've been there for probably 4 hours. I was at one point, 4 hours, and I'm sitting there, and I know these guys' kids' names by this point. We've had dinner together. I've drunk tea with them, and I've sat there. We've talked about my trip, talked about their lives, friends all over social media. And I got cleared by the army captain after 4 hours of sitting there. And as I've gone through, the guys who I'd been sitting with before stopped me and then searched me thoroughly, stripped my bike down. I'm looking at them going, I've been talking to you for 4 hours. You can't have done this for the last 4 fucking hours. They love stripping the bike down. Yeah, going in all the little bits and bobs. What's this plug for? So I'm like, oh, God. Just, yeah.
A lot of it seems to be, from my experience, is a bit like a job creation scheme. There's, everyone, the further out of the West you go, the more people get involved in every process. You
just got to let them know. As I said earlier, I've just let them. I'll smile and wave. Yeah, no worries. What do you want to do?
Well, it's part of the experience, isn't it? The fact that you're sitting telling me about it. Imagine if you'd just gone and they'd gone, yeah, thanks, welcome to Egypt, and yeah, goodbye, and you're like, not much to tell, would you really?
No, I suppose not. It'd be a really boring trip around the world. Tyres or air pressure in the tyres. A lot of people like to do that with me. I'm like, no, I'm not talking about different tyres.
No. So you're in the United Arab Emirates now. Sounds like, well, I mean, you're certainly very animated and dynamic when you're telling me about your trip, and it's amazing. Honestly, I feel, actually, I'm knackered. I feel like I've done it with you. But you
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, if you're watching this, I do apologise.
No.
I'm very enthusiastic about the stuff I do.
Of course, and so you should be. You're no point in doing it if you're not. You're in what looks like a really nice apartment or something like that. Room.
But do you know what? Pick the Airbnb with a washing machine.
Oh, yeah, see.
It stinks. That's the washing machine, currency exchange, telephone. It's all I'm ever looking for, a washing machine. And I can only carry, but I've got enough for about 6 days. I can't carry 10 pairs of pants, 10 pairs of socks.
Of course.
So I've got enough for about 6 days. So usually every 5 days, I'm in my brain. And then your motorbike gear stinks.
Yeah.
It's hot. Yeah, and you do sweat in your gear.
Yeah.
So you always just find a cheap Airbnb washing machine.
Well, when I first spoke to you a few days ago, and I never said anything because it's like, well, why would I? But I saw you and I thought, I wonder if he's at home.
No. It's a little Airbnb, look.
Yeah, it looks nice.
Got some bananas.
Yeah, it looks brilliant.
Once you get to understand all the apps, Booking.com, hotels, Airbnb, you can work them really well. So obviously I've done 7 months worth now.
Yeah.
Take out the camping side, and you can figure out the cheapest options, which are really good. Now, a really good thing I do, so I book this place for one night.
Right.
So Booking.com, I think it worked out about 50 quid a night, something like that. And as soon as you've booked it, when you get met at the thing and say, fine, I'd like to stay another 6 night, please. What can you do for me? And then you do a cash deal.
Right. They're not
so the longer you get to know all the little bits, and then using all the point systems. So on hotels.com, every 20 hotels, you get a free one. Yeah. So, and then or you can save them up for when the wife's coming out, which is what I do. So.
Yeah, so you've got. I guess I was going to move on to that when introducing the fact you're in that lovely place and you're in a lovely, a country, very developed part of.
Dubai's. Have you been here?
I've been there, but I've never ridden or stayed other than in a hotel. I've done one of those long weekends.
It's. Have you been to Vegas?
Yes.
It's just like Vegas. It's like Vegas without the casinos, but with a beach.
So it's a bit
very fake. It's very not for me. It's not real.
Yeah.
No, it's not real.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, we went. Yeah, I know what you mean. You're right. It's an artificial environment, isn't it?
It's all right. It's safe. It's fine. It's got good food. Lots of people. My wife's coming out. We'll go and do the touristy stuff and see the towers and all that. But it's not real.
No,
this is the real world.
You see, you've come from the real world.
West London.
Yeah, but you've come from. I guess you've come from a sanitized version of the real world into the real world for the last 7 months, and now you're in a very, very,
I don't like it here
artificial.
Anymore.
Yeah.
I don't like it here.
You're there till after Christmas, you said, because it's Christmas time.
No, well, I am no. So on Saturday, I'm now with the UAE riders. We're going Bedouin style, so I have no idea. They've been texting me while I've been on this. They're taking me into the desert to ride for 3 days.
Oh, you did mention that. Yeah, wow.
So yeah, I've literally got to dump apparently everything except for 3 t-shirts, 3 pairs of pants, and a toothbrush, and they're providing everything else. So literally no sleeping equipment in a Bedouin something. I have no idea.
Oh, yeah. Wow. But you're looking
control thing. Remember what I said about that control thing? It's good. Right? Yeah, definitely, absolutely. Let's go. So it's a real nice thing.
Yeah,
I get myself into some funny adventures because of it as well now.
Yeah. Honestly, wow. I'm very, very envious. I am. No, honestly,
Yeah.
I've spoken to lots of people, and you're the 10th round the world, or certainly very long journey person that I've interviewed since we relaunched this. And lots of them, I've done some of their trips, but not the whole trip, parts, because when you go around the world, often people have done that bit and they've done that bit. They've not done the whole thing.
No.
But I guess yours is, I don't know whether it's because I'm a little bit older than you, but similar age, similar background, similar experiences, and I can somehow relate to you a bit more than
Come with me, Ian.
people.
Come with me.
Hey, I tell you what.
Join in.
Hey, I tell you, you've got me.
Every single person will find an excuse not to. I've decided. That's the real shame.
No, that's right.
Every single person. Everyone who we have this conversation. Oh, do you know, I'd love to come with me.
Yeah.
And straight away, before they've even thought yes, their brain just thinks about 50 excuses, and I see it in people's eyes.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I understand. It takes a few pennies in the bank. It takes determination. You've got to be a bit weird like me. But you've got to be a little bit more than weird, I think. But yeah, it's not for everybody, this. Hence, you go on Horizons Unlimited, there's about 60 of us that have done it.
Yeah.
Individually, on their own. I think there's 305, including Ewan McGregor and Charlie and that, and they did it with a crew of 24.
Yeah,
I have me and my Amex mostly.
That's a massive key. I think I mentioned to Henry last week that they inspired so many people, including me, Ewan and Charlie. But I was aware that they'd got like a massive Amazon
24.
crew of 24 people and support vehicles.
I asked Charlie. I asked Charlie before I left, and he said, 24 people.
Yeah, and so it's not real.
And the other ones that have done it seem to be in a rush.
Yeah.
But they always seem to be in a rush. And I think, well, okay. I can understand the younger ones because it does come down to pound notes and that gold-plated pension every month. I get that they've got a few grand of savings and they're going to spend it having that adventure.
Yeah.
But when you get to our age, my friend, do you know what? Again, I go back to that looking up at that mountain, that moment in the desert. And I sit there when the anxiety gets too much. Mental health again, sorry to talk on about it.
No.
But if I say to myself, okay, right, it's easy for me. I could be with you by midnight. Probably. There's probably 7 flights here to London today.
Yeah.
And I could walk to the airport, get on a plane and come home. And then I say to myself, and then what?
Yeah.
And then what? So then I'll sit there for the rest of my life thinking, fuck, dickhead. Or
no, you can't stop what you're doing.
I'd get a job. I've got a job. I was a motorbike instructor before I left. I just taught kids how to ride 125s. Quite enjoyed it. Give a little bit back. You get paid peanuts for it. But I thought, well, I'd go back and do that for the next 20 years until I died. Just go on 2 holidays a year. So there's no way I'm quitting this. I want to see everything. I want to experience everything, and then I can go back and say, completed it.
Honestly.
Then I'll go to Ibiza for 2 weeks for the missus every year.
Yeah, you know.
I think I've already got about 10 more adventures in my brain.
I was just about to say, you were asking me about adventures, but I think
my brain.
Yeah, you're going to have several reasons why you're going to do all this again, or certainly parts of it again. And that's, you'll pick the best of it and want to do it again.
I'm already doing Europe again.
There you go. You'll pick, I was just about to say, you'll pick the ones that you felt you did too fast and want to do it slower.
Sure.
You've got loads of friends and new contacts and people, like-minded people.
So lovely.
Yeah.
So lovely.
Oh, you'll want to meet again.
They are so lovely. You literally come out of, I'm not going to say London, you come out of France, Germany, westernized Europe. We're not talking Bulgaria, Romania and that, but westernized Europe. You leave that, everybody just has a smile. They're happier with their lives. You travel around the shitholes of the world where they don't have, as you said, the 70-inch screen TVs that they've been given.
Yeah.
And they're happy. And you sit there and they have nothing, and they will literally be trying to give you all of their nothing. And I've had it so many times.
Yeah.
All I've got to give back is a Bike Guy Dave sticker and a smile and a photograph. It's horrible sometimes.
Yeah.
And I look at those and I think, well, my emergency stash the emergency stash dollars in my tank bag, which would hopefully get me out of trouble, could literally feed you and your family for a year. Then
I know.
The world is just great.
It is a wonderful, big, wide world. And all those excuses that people make, including me, as I mentioned, right, earlier.
Sorry.
No,
everyone does, don't worry.
Everyone. Don't take it personal.
Everybody does, don't worry.
No, I fully understand that you've usurped that, you've done it, you've said it, and you've made it happen. And so many people, including me, and I'm being very honest here, haven't yet mentally made the step of saying,
It's hard.
It is. And
that's what it's about. It's not about
I know.
You've got money. It's about that.
I know. I guess my words of advice to other people are, don't wait till it's too late. And I'm making sure I'm trying as hard as I can to not do the same thing.
There was a moment though, so about 2 years ago, all my children are older now, and it got to a point where we were on 5 different continents.
Right.
All the children and me. And I was like, I've done now. They don't need me anymore. And literally, they were in Australia, America, Europe. I didn't even know where my son was, and he was doing interrailing around Europe. And I phoned him up, said, "Bro," and he said, "Oh, I'm just in Lake Como." And I sat there thinking, I can
now do what I want.
I've done my job. There's nothing else for me to do with my kids anymore.
No.
I've raised good children. I'm quite pleased with that. And and that was when I sort of mentally pushed me over the edge to think, right, now it's my turn.
And that's a very interesting thing. My youngest, as I've mentioned, is 18 and just about to leave home and set upon his own journey in life. And I think I know that having him here has been a mental stumbling block because he needed me as he was at his age.
You know what I've done and what I'm doing right now. You even know I've told you all some of these stories, what I've done.
Yeah.
Do you want to know the hardest? And I've been shot at. I've been to war, chest full of medals. I've run into burning buildings for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know what the hardest thing I've ever done is?
What?
Raise children.
Yeah. Oh God.
Fucking hard.
Tell me
that
about
shit. Don't stop. The wars stop. Tyres stop. No, they're that mental anguish that you put yourself through and they put you through is for a long, long, long time. Raising children is the hardest thing you'll ever do.
Raising children well, which it sounds
Raising
like
children
you've
well,
done,
yes.
and I'm
Because you can raise
great
children
at.
badly and, it's easy. I'm like, well, you haven't
Done it very well then, mate, yeah.
I was raising an adult. I was never raising a child. I want them to be children, but my job was to
make sure that they're effective, good, compassionate, decent, honest.
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not dad of the year, far, far from it. In
No,
many,
none
many
of us
ways.
are, mate.
You ask at least two of my children, I would definitely not be dad of the year. But when it got to that stage and I had that, and I'd text each of them, one was in the States, two were in Australia, one was I was like, yeah, I'm done now.
Yeah.
They don't need me anymore.
Yeah.
That was a good moment of clarity, that was. So, yes, I did get, things will happen and it'll help you along the road to do something nuts like this.
Well,
just a quick one. I always wanted to sail around the world.
Oh, really?
My whole life, I did all my sailing exams and I was just wanting to buy a yacht and sail around the world. But then I decided, well, I'll miss a bit. So I don't want to go. I just don't want to see the ocean. I want to go and see all the world. So, yeah, I changed my mind to be a motorbike.
Well, I'm glad you did. We won't be talking because
I've been talking on some sailing blog. Yeah.
I was tempted to go into some detail about what's coming, but I can clearly see the way that this.
You can talk about it.
Got a clue.
No, I kind of have. So, boat or plane to Karachi. So it's kind of got two agents sorting it out, trying to figure out which one's the best at the moment. So Karachi and then Pakistan. Again, you go on the government website, it says don't go there. But I'm not.
Some of the nicest people in the world in Pakistan.
It's anyway, so I won't go near the Iranian border. Now, Iran is the one place we can't go. You can't get a visa, and it's hard for the English and Americans. So Iran is totally out of the question.
Yeah.
Pakistan, I'm probably going to take about 2 weeks to get to Lahore. That's the only way you can cross into India. When they do all the drama at the border.
Yes.
Into India, and then I'm going to travel north into the Himalayas. Only because I love skiing, so I'm going to go skiing on my own for a week somewhere.
Brilliant.
A couple of the Indian ski resorts. From there, because the mountain's going to be snowy, I'm going to go to Nepal, have a look around Nepal, go and see Everest, and you can apparently ride up to base camp in 2 days.
Yeah, apparently.
From there, back down into India, and then I just want to spend. There's a place that looks for tigers or has wild tigers. You spend a few days in the jungle doing that, and then I want to travel down to the bottom till about April. I want to be at the bottom, and my wife wants to go to the Maldives. Go to the Maldives, and then probably a month back up, and then over the Himalayas in about May. That's my next 6 months.
Well, that sounds like the way that will evolve, if it evolves anything like your first 6 or 7 months has. I think we'll have plenty to talk about in 6 months' time.
Oh, mate, I'd love to do it again. Yeah, I'm busy. I find myself busy all the time. Nothing.
Yeah.
You think you're not constantly editing. I'm writing a book at the same time. Actually, I've just last night, met the publisher. That was
wow, amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I've given them what I've got, and they're like my personality and that, and it comes across in the book. And they're like yes, without even doing it. So yeah, hopefully there'll be a book at some point at the end of this. And yeah, do you know, again, I just want to share my life with people. I just think that a life less ordinary is something to be, given out and showing everybody that it's not a bad place out there, and the world is great. People are lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. Very exciting stuff ahead then, isn't it?
Always. Life's never boring me around.
No, I can tell. Even the last 2 hours, 32 minutes, would you believe?
Sorry.
No, not at all. It's just great how it, goes. I love it. What I wondered if, before we start to wrap it up, if you'd like to share some of your socials with people. I don't know if your book's going to have a title for people to look out for. I know they take time. Who knows?
At the moment, it's called Dave's Book.
Right, yeah, okay.
On Google. I doubt it would be called that. I'll let people cleverer than me to realise that stuff. But yeah, just Google Bike Guy Dave. I'm on every social. I seem to do great on TikTok, but it's only because It's a bit those little sound bites. I quite enjoy that. But yeah, the YouTube channel, I probably every episode takes me about 5 to 6 hours, but nobody watches them. I still enjoy it though.
Yeah, I know. Well, look, I mean, I'll make sure that obviously I share your TikTok links and Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Cool.
Definitely, and I'd love it if you did the same.
Yeah, cool. Definitely.
It's great. I think to have had 2.5 hours of conversation about just your first 7 months of what's going to be a 3 or 4 year trip is amazing.
This is the third time I've done this as well, so I'm kind of getting used to it now. People being interviewing me on Zoom and stuff.
Yeah, well, I've really absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you, Ian.
And give me lots of inspiration as well, and lots of food for thought. So I appreciate it, mate.
No worries, fella.
So I'll put some links if you don't mind. Well, you don't have to send them. I'll look for them and get the links and put them below it. And I just want to say thank you again. Stay safe. Enjoy your Bedouin camping.
Yeah, I know, the weekend. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, I bet you are. And stay in touch, mate.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And Merry Christmas. And enjoy the time with your wife.
No Christmas here. It's nothing. It's obviously a very Muslim country. It's really weird. This is my third Christmas, obviously military I've spent away. Yeah, there's no Christmas here whatsoever. No, it's really odd.
Get out there and start decorating a tree somewhere then.
Yeah. Let me have a look
at midnight.
Lovely to have met you, Ian.
And you. All the best, mate.
Cheers, fella.
Speak soon. And what I always say at the end of these is I'm still looking for the stop recording button because I can never find it. There it is. I found it.
There you go.
Thanks for listening to the Motorcycle Radio podcast. Tune in again next week for more motorcycle adventures from people just like you. Goodbye.